I feel like you guys, my real subscribers, deserve an explanation as to what's going on my YouTube page. Why is everything happening like this? You know, why am I uploading this content? What's fucking, you know, why are you going at Filthy Frank? And
wait, what content? What videos? What to sing of Filthy Frank? It'd be really nice if you gave us, you know, something to work with in terms of context for someone who happens to stumble upon this video while looking for idiots on the internet who can't seem to make a coherent point. Fine, guess we'll have to do it for you. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to—
This is Double for Anime. Essentially, he mainly talks about anime. Lately, he's been reacting to videos that other people made, including an honest trailer of Naruto, and then he's been getting kinda defensive about it. What I think made him snap was him making a video a few days before the video that we're commentating on about how Filthy Frank is the worst scum of the internet. It basically got an attention from people such as Scares, Pyrocynical, and MDXLR. On his next video, he made a troll video in which case he exposed to Obama, but something along lines like that. Anywho, he made an update video on why he made the original video to begin with, and that's essentially what we're covering today.
In addition, I saw the video where you later compared the likes and dislikes to a lightsaber. Not only did you come off as genuinely pissed, but also you never once even attempt to explain how Filthy Frank, a guy who makes sketch videos, is just as bad as someone like Keemstar, who has been known to threaten people with doxing.
You salty nut bitches, you took all my explanation! I had a joke about the Rock Lee spin-off in there!
here's the thing, like, Filthy Frank deserves to fucking just be eradicated. Like, I've said that, and I'm genuine about that shit. Like, I really fucking hate Filthy Frank, and I made that video, and that's completely real. Like, I don't care what people say, I think he needs to go, and I was reaching out to the YouTube community and asking you guys if we could all gather up together and just destroy him. And let's be honest, like, I wasn't able to do anything. I mean, look at my fucking rating bar. It's literally a lightsaber. Like,
Lightsaber? With that long of a handle? Well, guess there was an issue in manufacturing then.
Maybe the Force is incredibly strong in this fella. Who knows?
One thing worth noting about you saying that Filthy Frank deserves to be taken off of YouTube, considering your reasoning for wanting him gone, is that he makes fun of anime fans. If I were to go solely based on what you say in this video, and if I add what you say in the other video, his sense of humor is dark. It will bite you in the ass later.
that is the product of me attacking Filthy Frank. I just got fucking destroyed. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Some of them are writing really fucked up shit, like, you know, Columbine shooter, you know, this guy is gonna shoot up your school, you shouldn't go to school. Like, first of all, we in the summer, bitch.
I don't think that's what their point was about when it comes towards the overall comments. Sure, it's the summertime right now as of writing the script, but they were saying that you were going to shoot up a school when school comes around.
Also, if this was a joke, remember that thing I literally just said about Filthy Frank using dark humor? This isn't even—
My final form!
well, no shit. But also, this isn't the last time he contradicts himself in this manner. Maybe let me finish.
Of all time!
Second of all, I was having a very bad day when I recorded that video, so even though, like, I fucking hate Filthy Frank, it was definitely, you know, exploited by the fact that I had a bad day, or it was exponentiated, that's a better word, by the fact that I had a bad day, and that's why the video turned out the way it did, and it just came off like I'm fucking psycho when I'm not psycho. I'm not into that psycho shit.
Right, because having a bad day is a perfectly good excuse. So is not scripting your video for using a word that literally doesn't mean the thing you're trying to convey at all. Why did you even bother uploading the video if you knew it was overly angry and painted you in a light that you did not want to be painted in? Oh, by the way, I don't give a shit if this is better edited than the vast majority of unscripted videos that I've seen. At least I know the meaning of the word exploit, for God's sake.
In addition to what Boon said, I have seen numerous reaction videos where it's something anime related, and even when it's meant to be a complete joke, like when people take anime too far, if they did something bad, like say the Primary Lotus, when it was meant to be bad on purpose, you throw a fit over it because they didn't do it justice. Also, need we forget you throwing a temper tantrum over the 1-minute melee where the Naruto characters lose? Because it's not like they openly state they do not do research for those videos.
Silly Michael, everyone knows Double for Anime is a nerdtard.
The Rock Lee spin-off!
And normally I wouldn't need to explain myself, but when it comes to my real subscribers, and not all these fucking fake subscribers, because there's a lot of people writing like unsubscribe, and then I check my email, half these people aren't even subscribed, right? They're just writing that shit to start a trend of just hate, you know, jump on the fucking hate bandwagon, like, oh, gather up to destroy Double Four. Like, listen, I do not need to be destroyed.
私は運指する必要があります。Also, you do realize that if someone's subscription is set to private, which is something you can do, by the way, you will not get an email informing you they subscribed. That being said, considering your sub count, are you seriously saying you keep every single fucking email that alerts you to a subscription for the sole purpose of being able to prove who's sub to you and who's not? Even if you've got alerts for people with privated subscriptions, that's some creepy as fuck shit. In addition, those people may actually be saying that this video, which again, they may have stumbled across and not actively sought out because of you, is an indication that others should unsubscribe to you. So yes, they are spreading hate. Mainly because they think you deserve it.
I've only provided amazing material for this community, amazing anime reviews, put hours of work into this shit for you guys.
Well now, someone's certainly compensating for something.
Is it penis related?
Maybe.
After watching Naruto for so long, this has become a staple in my life, and anybody who comes at this series that I hold so dear, will be attacked by me. I will try and destroy them, 100%. And it didn't work with Filthy Frank, but I genuinely feel like you guys should listen to me when I say Filthy Frank deserves to go.
Look, I understand for the fact that you left the show so dearly, but can you stop being a Narutard and stop blindly defending the show? Look, not everyone is going to like something that you love, but that doesn't mean that you should attack those who doesn't like the show, even the ones who do go, gosh, Naruto sucks. It's basically what the anime community is all about.
And again, based on the fact that you're going after Filthy Frank, who has only made jokes at the show's expense, really just sounds like even parody is considered an attack to you. Rock Lee spinoff.
Regardless of what, this is not about Filthy Frank. Fuck all the fake subscribers. This is about my real subscribers, and you guys deserve an explanation because some of you guys actually believed the video I uploaded yesterday was serious.
Wait, so everything you just said has literally zero bearing on the actual subject matter of this video, which is a different, unrelated video to the Filthy Frank one. Daddy, what's this meaningless void of pseudo-existence that we call life?
Well, son, do you know what a dictionary is?
Can it define the contents of the soul?
Maybe.
And you guys think I'm actually going fucking crazy and I'm gonna have like some psychological breakdown and do something insane, like you'll see me in the news and I'm gonna shoot up a school. I don't believe in none of that fucked up shit, so stop bringing that up. People died in that shit. Like, you see, this is what's going on. Like, people are losing sensitivity to other people, and so it's okay when they say stuff like that, but the minute it happens to them, and boy does it deserve to happen to them, like...
Because as we all know, doing a video completely shirtless and having facial reactions where you look batshit crazy totally will not give people the impression that you're crazy. But in all seriousness, you say that you don't believe in school shootings, which is all well and good and probably something that the vast majority of people don't get behind, so you shouldn't feel the need to state, fine, whatever, but following up by saying that it deserves to happen to the people who are being insensitive about it because, you know, they are showing concern for your mental health. The reasons I just said is a contradiction and really fucking creepy.
Some of these people, man, like, let me explain what happened. So, I attacked Filthy Frank because I was genuinely just fucking pissed about how he was treating the anime community, just making a joke out of this shit. Let's be honest here, a big reason why the Naruto community is so hated is not because of people like me, it's always been hated, alright? Before I even came on YouTube, people were hating on Naruto fans.
Okay, now I'm confused. That Filthy Frank video was not from the day before, as you stated the video you wanted to talk about was. And on top of that, you just said like a minute ago that this wasn't about Filthy Frank. So, what are you actually talking about?
In addition, the way you worded how Naruto was hated before he even appeared on YouTube made you come off as condescending. Here's a bit of a pro tip. The world doesn't revolve around you, and you weren't the first person on the internet to review anime, so the fact that haters existed before you in no way proves your argument.
And As somebody who loves this series so much, it is my duty and responsibility to eliminate anybody who just makes this fucking a shitty community for us. Like, we need to be able to express our opinions in the same way that everybody else, and we deserve that right. And if people are just going to automatically just assume the worst in us, it's not going to happen.
Once again, you're going after a parody. Also, the way in which case that you said it was your duty to go after anyone who is attacking the anime community, it's like, no, honey, you need to go to bed. Because essentially put, you wanted to express your opinions, but then you can't let someone who doesn't like Naruto can't express theirs. Gotta love that 10 out of 10 logic, baby!
Wait, you pointed out that he was going after parodic material, right?
Baby. Yes.
Okay, cool. Just need to make a note of that for my final thoughts.
God damn it, Boon. Is it going to be another one of those 20-minute final thoughts?
Maybe.
Hey, wait a minute, get your own attention.
But again, I was having a very bad day, so just put that video aside, guys. Let's just forget about the Filthy Frank video. I can't even look at the video no more, because like every time I look at it, I check the comments and people are just going nuts and ballistic at me, like telling me to drink bleach, like Hitler's even commenting, like...
I didn't know Hitler came back from the dead.
How can we forget about the Filthy Frank video if you keep fucking talking about it? Seriously, you went on and off and back on the same topic so many times. You remind me of something flips back and forth a lot. Holy shit, you're so bad that you broke my metaphor.
In addition to everything that has been said, this just further proves you need to think out what you're going to do before you rant to rave on a topic.
Waffle! Was waffle.
Fuck all that shit. But then I uploaded the video about Obama and how he said, y'all anime are gay, and it's just like, I don't understand why a lot of you guys believe that video. It was actually a troll video from the start.
Hey, remember when I said that the thing that was going to bite you in the ass would later continue biting you in the ass? You have a contradiction hanging off your right butt cheek. I suggest getting some flea powder and industrial strength tweezers.
So Filthy Frank deserves to be taken off of YouTube for making fun of anime fans. Okay. Then why use the same type of humor targeted towards Barack Obama in your own video?
Plus, later on you say how you handle stuff on the internet through trolling, but one can argue that doing that only made your hole deeper. Never mind the fact that people didn't necessarily get mad at the video because they believed it, but that they potentially found it offensive?
Believe it! Actually don't. No. Don't do it. No.
Why did I make that video? I'm the type of person, when I do something, you know, fucked up or whatever, and maybe I get down on myself too hard or I just get depressed, I start wanting to troll. And the reason I start wanting to troll is simply because it's my way of trying to cope with things.
But couldn't one argue that you should make a separate account to troll instead? I mean, there's wanting to express your horizons on adding content onto your channel, but trolling can be a different thing since some people cannot tell us which videos you trolling and which videos you actually talking about serious stuff.
Anime! My way of coping is different. I just like want to entertain people and just start trolling and just start like making people laugh.
You wanted to make people laugh, even though with the Obama video, you came up as rather serious with your tone of voice, like you're trying to be a news reporter.
Add the, I assume, Photoshop tweets and imagery that really just seems like it's there to fill up space while you're talking, and it barely comes across as a troll video, even when I know it's a troll video. Look, I'm not saying that doing things for humorous intent is bad, saving that in my final thoughts folder, by the way, but your execution was mediocre at best and piss poor at worst.
Anime! And then people just, everybody was like, they thought I was serious, right? So because they thought I was serious, I thought I would go along with it for a little bit, and that was my mistake.
So, basically, you actually admitted to the fact that you actually misinformed people about how Obama called anime fans gay. You know, you could have avoided the whole drama and just admitted from the get-go.
To add to what MTR said, one could look at the title of the Obama video and say it was nothing more than clickbait. That way you get more views on your channel.
You know what the funny thing about that is? Almost all your videos are titled that way. Just saying.
Oh my fucking god!
Anime! I thought Obama, like, getting shot at in Japan because he said anime people were gay would be funny as fuck. but people just thought otherwise, and I'm sorry I offended anybody with that video. That was not the goal, and I just wanted to let you know that's what I do. I cope with things by trolling, by just, you know, having a good time, by laughing, by trying to, you know, get people's attention and shit like that.
You know what's funny? Based on the amount of time you've been talking about the Obama video compared to anything else, and the fact that you made it sound like this was the primary reason you wanted to speak so candidly, your video title is incredibly misleading, to the point where you may as well have named the video "Click Me Gone Sexual 18 Plus XOXOXOXOX."
Quit making fun of my own videos, Boon.
Wait, did you seriously make a video that title?
No, of course not. Do I look like some kind of clickbaity shitlord to you?
Maybe.
I will end you.
May was my friend back in high school.
It's just my love for anime, my love for Naruto specifically as a series is the greatest series of all time.
Bitch, do you even Trigun?
Goofy Movie was my favorite anime.
I think we should go into our final thoughts before we completely lose our minds. To start, this video really didn't do you any favors to calming the situation down with your tone of voice. The issue is not that you don't like Filthy Frank. It's fine if you don't like his content. No, the issue is how you wanted Filthy Frank to be removed on YouTube and compared what he does to people who did worse crap made it seem like you can't take a joke. Especially if it involves anime, specifically Naruto. The next time you do a video surrounding anime, if you're getting pissed at something that was meant to be a joke, just take a step back and try to calm down. I said it before and I'll say it again. Making a video where you're emotionally driven is a really bad idea. It will only hurt your reputation.
This is Deep Dish Unit 18 of 34. 8 of my brothers have been destroyed by the crash. Good news is, the star slamming experiment was a success. Bad news, we've lost the Cosby Comet. But we will survive, we will still broadcast, and we will still look for Mr. Captain. I'm currently malfunctioning. Okay, that's how much of a computer we have right now. Alright, begin the transmission.
Oh, so that's why it sounds like as if you were quote-unquote moving within my last commentary on you. You were trying to do stuff after rebooting. Too bad that with this intro here, I have new questions forming in my mind. Seriously, can you at least try to bring up previously on Deep Dish reviews or something so that the audience, as well as myself, can at least understand as to what the hell is going on?
Can I just say that the intro has next to nothing to do with the review at hand? Okay, so we have him rebooting and mentioning some clones, and it gets drowned like flies under bug spray. Like trying to connect something plot-wise with the review.
So here's the closest to any sort of context I got out of this entire thing. After the star slamming experiment that gets no explanation whatsoever and really just sounds like you're making celestial bodies fuck, there was a crash of you and your android buddies, and 8 of you fucking died in that somehow. And then you rebooted and are malfunctioning, even though nowhere in the video do you show any actual visual or audible signs of this malfunction, save for a slight little snicker in this intro. Some malfunction. Of course, this is somehow related to the computer also being fried? What, do you have to be connected to the mainframe in order to operate? And that's not even the best part. The best part is that none of this plot is spoken of after this to any extent whatsoever. You know what that makes it? Pointless fucking filler in an attempt to increase your viewer retention. Even though this would bore any viewer half to death.
It's not that we're against pre-video skits, look what we did in this video. We're against skits that have zero effort put into them and don't add anything. It's like you binge watch That Guy with the Glasses videos all day, thought to put an opening skit in, but didn't understand why those guys have skits in their videos. Also, way to not be robotic enough to even pass off as a robot. I mean, how do you do it? You sound like you just got out of bed, for crying out loud. And slight nitpick, but clean your room. That's just gross.
All of this. And we haven't even gotten to the review yet. Hell, it'll be another 53 seconds anyway, because you have some pointless calibration clip that looks like it's just an old piece of media you just pulled off of some archive site. Oh, hi, ripping off Pan Pizza. How are you doing this fine Deanie D?
That'll be $5, Boon.
Fine.
God, get me out of here! I need to see my rock!
The Rock has been cheating on the both of you.
There is no God. Only Zool.
I actually have nothing.
No.
I don't know what the fuck just happened.
Let's all laugh at an industry that never learns anything, tee-hee-hee.
During a conversation between me and the captain as to how we'd go about making a Sailor Moon reboot, Robbie wanted Serena to be a fully grown adult ass-kicker instead of a 14-year-old schoolgirl, since he felt that the high school backdrop many an anime has been known for exists specifically to waste our time with characters sitting in a room doing absolutely nothing interesting.
Wait, why did that little disclaimer say that this video is a fandom arson? I thought it said it was a deep dish review. Are they the same? Are they their own separate entities? Did The Rock really do it? We'll never know.
First of all, George, get your grubby raccoon mitts off my rock. It's my rock. I'm the one that gave the rock life. More importantly, oh hi, zero punctuation ripoff! How are you doing on this, mayonnaise joke?
On top of perhaps one of the worst British accents I've ever heard, last I checked, Sailor Moon knew how to balance itself out from day-to-day stuff like school and its action when it came to whatever the villain of the week was. Hell, in some cases, the stuff that occurred at the school would also tie into the action parts.
A perfect complement to what he calls the precursor to the laziness glorification vehicle we call gassy temperatures.
Huh, that's weird. What are you doing here, Starefax Temperatures? Looks like I'm not the only one who knows how to channel JonTron. Difference being that I come up with original content and only emulate the delivery. What the fuck are you doing?
We'll explain our fruity little plan for Sailor Moon some other day, but this talk has gotten me thinking. How is it that high school is often the escapist fantasy equivalent of kryptonite?
It can't really be kryptonite if they have the potential of putting out some high-quality stuff in a high school setting. I mean, have you not seen My Life as a Teenage Robot?
Well, it could be worse. After all, he could be trying to use a pure slice of life cartoon as an example of his point. Like maybe the abomination that is My Life Me. Now that would be...
Well, I figured out that shows like these spend way too much time on high school drama than the escapist elements we actually come over to see.
Really? Fucking really? Okay, first of all, My Life Me? Tell me, what is escapist about a pure slice of life show? Never mind the fact that My Life Me is pretty much a straw man for all lazy Western animation, and not a good choice to show that the entire fucking setting doesn't work. But it doesn't even match the genre you're talking about. Oh, but then there's the focus on being taken away from the escapist elements. Since you don't clarify what escapist means other than the channel you're ripping off, let me just define it based on what the context of this whole review seems to present it as. An element that would not be present in the real world, like one involving science fiction, fantasy, or in the case of some superhero shows, both. Besides just Sailor Moon, which integrates the less action-oriented scenes with the escapist elements by showing how one affects the other, there's also Power Rangers. Now I could just stop right there and say, your argument is invalid. I could list off hundreds of examples right fucking now. Or I could pepper examples throughout the video of shows that work and have the elements you described. Oh wait, I think I'll do both of the latter two!
Anyway, on to what Boon ranted about, how is it inherently bad that certain fantasy and sci-fi shows even take place or have a high school in it? By that logic, I can like a haunted house being an everyday street with a giant sign that says, "I scary," because it's out of place.
Did we also mention that kids go to school and thus cartoon creators want to perhaps connect to their audience? I know, such an alien concept.
Specifically because the bland and mundane things in life, like drama and shipping, are the easiest to write. Isn't that right, Annie McBeal?
No, drama isn't an easy thing to write down like you think it is. It needs justified conflict. It needs full involvement between the characters. It needs to be interesting and not at all sappy, corny, or, well, badly written.
As a writer who's worked with other writers, who the fuck do you think you are to tell us what is and isn't easy to write? There are plenty of writers who have an easy time writing drama like George R.R. Martin, and then there's writers like me who do not write interpersonal drama well and are much better at writing wider scale or political conflict. In addition, writers can also have talents with different genres, because writing a comedy is different from writing a dramatic piece. And even then, writing slapstick is very different from writing dark comedy. So, no, it's not objectively easier to write any one genre, you fucking pedestrian bourgeois little piece of excrement.
Do you want to know who's a good writer? My rock.
You stay away from him!
Son, what does bourgeois mean?
Read a goddamn book!
I don't have an issue with anything you said. It's just fun to punch you.
Fair.
Say it ain't so, deep dish, I hear you cry hanging from my kneecaps. Please be gentle on Zero, Danny. No, you clod, it's Robbie who hates this show, not I. Besides, it ain't even on Nickelodeon.
Wait, hold it! So, question, what does this all tie into? You do somewhat explain, but here's the issue. You talk about one subject, and then all of a sudden you decide to talk about another subject without any connection whatsoever. Dude, work on your writing on how to connect points together so that it flows better. Holy crap, this is A363MTR Commentates number 18 all over again. Also, what do you mean by it? If you meant Danny Phantom, then too easy. If you meant by Robot Jones, then I guess that's a quote-unquote connection, but my previous point still stands because first of all, why did you bring up Danny Phantom? And second of all, the transition is fucking horrible. Oh, and as for the Nickelodeon comment, also too easy.
But MTR, everyone knows that Viacom is part of the Illuminati.
Oh please, as someone who's planning on using Bill Cipher as an avatar, it's safe to assume that I'm part of the Illuminati too. And let me tell you that Nick isn't one of them. Though apparently Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are both part of the group.
This entire Illuminati joke is fucking stupid anyway.
Eh, why not? By the way, you see that drama or other certain scenarios are incredibly easy to write? Yet you don't know basic writing 101 for this review. GG.
The episode begins with body measurements. The tallest of the class get drafted in for the basketball team, while the puny ones get carted off for crab soccer. Whatever the hell that is.
They show it in the very next scene. How fucking dense are you?
How can you not know what crab walks are? Crab walks are a simple exercise where you just walk on all fours with your back towards the ground. How do I know this? Simple. I did this fucking exercise in elementary. And even then, could you not have done any sort of research about it before writing the review?
Research? Pfft. Who needs that when you've got some guy who sounds like he just got out of bed making witty and insightful commentary? I mean, just sound like you care for just a minute.
By the way, crab soccer is an actual thing. Hell, we did something similar for certain practices in high school soccer. Granted, not to the extreme exaggeration that the show uses, but it's not like a cartoon would ever have any sort of exaggeration of things that happen in real life whatsoever. I swear to God, I hope you're ready for what could be the longest final thoughts of my life.
I quit.
You're not editing this.
Oh. Never mind.
And it's winter, because basketball season.
Get down on all fours, robot! And let's see some crab hustle!
Damn, he must have watched this video and got bored. To death. I'm funny, right guys?
No.
Now give me my rock back!
Immediately you see the cracks within the concept of the show. It's a lone robot in a normal human high school. Technically it's a middle school, but they're so close together I may as well count it here.
First of all, fuck you! High school and middle school are not basically the same thing. It's not like there's more signs of physical development in middle school, and thus the growth spurt premise of this episode wouldn't work in a high school setting at all, and if it did, it would be a stretch, no pun intended. That's just one example of why a middle school and high school setting work differently. Never mind the fact that some middle schools also use a class setup more similar to an elementary school as well.
And if the important aspect is that it's a school setting, why not just call it a school setting?
Second of all, so an abnormal person in a normal school is automatically bad? Let's see. You must really want my fucking list then! Invader Zim, Symbionic Titan, most versions of Spider-Man if he's not working in a normal office, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, the original Powerpuff Girls no matter what you think of the 2016 version, Dexter's Laboratory, Cow and Chicken.
You're right, Ernie. This is fun.
I know, right?
I wanna have fun.
Why do people keep producing animated TV shows set in these generic high schools? It's not a very interesting place to set a show. It's dreary and sterile, the people there are unpleasant, and you forget about it the minute you graduate. In fact, there's only one name I can remember from high school off the top of my head, and that's simply because she was an otaku anime girl, I guess.
That's funny, I remember lots of people from high school. And I graduated in 2005.
And I really don't like using this argument because of the stigma according with even saying the words associated with this, even with the overall fact that I've already said this to you in commentary number 18. But it's a kid's show. Yes, I know you can review a kid's show too, but maybe, just maybe, the show wants to relate to its target audience a little bit, especially with the setting being at a high school. After all, Superman works a desk job.
And don't even get me started on the damage it dealt to the captain's sanity. RJ and Sox flaunt their placement on their respective teams with predictable response. The handicapped girl Shannon drops by much to Jones's delight, but naturally she ignores him because the dude's hella small. They watch the first game of the season when, really? These dorks are in their late teens. Why put those puny munchkins alongside those lunks of lumber? Clearly, yet another way the system's rigged the world from cradle to grave.
I don't really see where this joke is even going. I checked the Wolfpack website and it's apparently a political website, and I don't even know how this even relates to the joke of tall people blocking the character's view of the game.
Also, high image that gets used to represent corporate greed in Jim Sterling's videos? Not even the last time that you steal Jim Sterling shit.
I don't know what the fuck just happened.
I should probably mention the mess that got this show sunk. Originally, they used Macintalk Jr. for the voice of Robot Jones, and it perfectly fit. A little on the cheap side, yes, but as the NSCL put it, it can be a brilliant idea for a cheaply made animated show.
I'm sorry, cheap animation? Yeah, no. No, the animation is not cheap. Why? Because this show uses cell animation. You know, how animation used to be done? And this show came out in an age where cartoons switched to digital animation. And guess what? Cell animation is more expensive than digital animation. How can it be cheap when it's actually pretty expensive?
And I'm sorry, you think Bobby Block is the reason the show got canned? No. Well, there was a lot of executive meddling that made Greg Miller leave. The recasting, as it were, of Jones wasn't even the tip of the iceberg on that. Never mind the fact that it's actually a decision I personally agree with. You're probably not aware of the fact that the show was thrown around the schedule so much that it may as well have been the typical Brock Lesnar opponent, or the fact that the show wasn't even Cartoon Network's choice. They put a viewer poll out to decide which of the pilots would get greenlit, and Robot Jones won that poll. In other words, the people got it on the air, but it got the Invader Zim treatment, shafted in ways that had nothing to do with changing a voice actor.
This could have been the end of it, but judging by the voice you're currently hearing right now...
Hello, Shannon. I made the crab soccer team. Your body type is too large for team unit.
That's right! Executive meddling strikes again! They thought that having synthetically voiced characters was way too weird. Yeah, try saying that to Hatsune Miku. So they swapped it out with Bobby Block, going as far as to redub the first season. Damn! Not to knock the kid's voice talents, but Judith Barzi, you ain't. Bless her soul, fuck Konami.
Oh, so that's why you played the incredibly non-contextual Metal Gear clip. So you could justify saying fuck Konami! This is a repeat of my 18th fucking commentary, like holy fucking shit!
Okay, I'm not gonna fault you for not playing any clips of Macintalk as Robot Jones. I'll let my co-op partners tell you why the fact that the clips of original show with Macintalk aren't very high quality isn't an excuse. But I will say, once again, I actually like Bobby Block. Yes, using Macintalk has its own charm, but if we were to actually play something with the audio...
Your mission, watch Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. Premieres Friday at 9:30 on Cartoon Network.
You might be able to hear the Macintalk Jr. voice doesn't sound all that childlike, and Robot Jones is supposed to be a child.
And honestly, it works giving Robot Jones a new voice to add some more emotion, and even then, the voice itself still sounds semi-robotic, so there's no harm done.
Naturally, growth spurts aren't really a thing for robots unless you count upgrades and such, so Jones takes matters into his own hands.
I don't get it. That's funny. I could actually say the same thing about your usage of media clips.
I'm feeling that at least to me, the joke is being dragged out a bit too long. Also, those clips in that specific sequence might have been taken from somewhere.
Damn you, Eck! What just happened?
I don't know what the fuck just happened.
He's having robot puberty. Robots don't have puberty. Sure they do. No way.
Personally, I kinda agree, because between you and me, The idea of robot puberty bugs me. No matter how hot it sounds.
Don't show that image again! Ever! Except in your personal time, of course.
Why the hell did you punch me? I didn't do anything! At least not this time.
Well, I had to punch something.
Fair.
Because The Rock said so.
The Rock says you're a jabroni!
After a trip to the principal's office, we cut to the big basketball game of the episode. Whilst cheering on Socks, another growth spurt occurs, leading to him making the team as a scab of sorts.
Robot with your legs so tall, help us win at basketball.
That's not what a scab is. Because a scab is someone who works in place of someone who's on strike. Who went on strike exactly? Did The Rock go on strike?
You leave The Rock out of your Jontronning.
George, The Rock was secretly cheating on you. With me. And also Ernie.
God, I have to pick out a positive from this show, don't I? The art style's pretty damn decent. It has this sort of schoolhouse rock kind of vibe if you're into that kind of stuff. It's a bit on the ugly side, but with a show as cheap as this one, you better take what you can get.
Alright, this might be nitpicky for me, but there's only like 3 minutes of the review with an additional 2 minutes of the credits that we will cover, and now you only talk about the animation. Honestly, this should be talked about earlier since this is actually the biggest main aspect of the show itself. This could technically also be said about the voices being different between the 2 seasons of the show.
But no! In the beginning, all I could do was talk about Sailor Moon, because that cartoon has got the boom anime babes that make me think the wrong thing.
Hey! Music jokes are my shtick.
How can I help it if I think you're funny when you're— OW! Oh! What the hell was that for?
Really?
Motherfucker.
He plays well for a robot, so well in fact, that he ties the game in the second half, leading to trouble from the visitors. Does Jones pull through? Of course he does! It wouldn't be a generic high school plot without the good guys winning.
Hey, you know what's funny? Tropes aren't bad is a trope. Because, you know, tropes aren't automatically bad.
Plus, I see where you're trying to come from, but the problem is you say that it's a cliche that the good guys win every time, when the cliche here is they win at the last second. Even then, there isn't really any dramatic tension within the scene at all. It's more so played to progress the plot.
And at the end of the day, don't you want the good guys to win? Do you? I mean, the show hasn't given you an excuse not to as far as I can tell.
But how does he learn the episode's moral?
Hello, anybody? Hey, along here. I got 2 minutes of food.
In the final seconds of the episode. Up yours, Cartoon Network. Up yours.
Okay, first of all, the data log entry isn't even when he learns the lesson. He learned his lesson about the growth spurts at the point you asked how he was going to learn his lesson. You know, when his head flies through the roof, and this would be something more important if this were a morality-based show. It's not. In fact, the closing scene is played for laughs, right down to the gag of Jones getting hit with the satellite after finishing his datalog entry.
Also, how is it bad that they learn it at the end? It doesn't really take away from the episode at all, and honestly complaining about it feels pointless. Usually it's told at the end, as simple storytelling goes.
Final analysis. My original body size is best.
Conclusion.
Okay, let me at him. You did not take a fucking clip of Digi Valentine. The other times you tried to imitate it in some way, but here, you just flat out stole a clip from him. Fuck off.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Oh, baby, a triple.
I can understand why the aforementioned YouTube channel NSCL.
Oh, hi, Mr. Enter! I wasn't expecting to see you in this video. I figured Alex was too busy ripping off semi-respected YouTubers. By the way, I've been waiting to tear this screen right here to shreds for the entire fucking video. So let's start with your Enter ripoff scorecard and the temperature of the episode. You have a key here, but if you're going to give it a goddamn score, why not just use a goddamn score? It accomplishes the same goal, and you in no way incorporate this temperature concept into the review in any other way. It's just arbitrary. Kind of like your Enter graph. Okay, so the only thing I can get out of this at all is that the blue bars mean negative points, and the red bars mean positive points, which, again, extra complication that serves no purpose, but fine, whatever. Would make sense if it were the other way around, if not for the temperature thing. Seriously, why are you using the temperature thing? But why are the values a -2? You said nothing about any actual values. The only thing you said was that you didn't like the pacing of the quote-unquote moral that wasn't even a fucking moral. You are aware that a show doesn't have to teach morals in order to have good values, right? And then there's your little text blurb. You said there's no real heart put into the show, unlike Breadwinners. You know what? No. Saving it for my final thoughts.
Oh, the cheat for... My rock is not pleased with your reference.
Didn't want to recommend this show to anyone. The setup makes this show way too predictable for any payoff to properly function. The characters are archetypes we've seen way too many times before, and it's overall so bland and unwatchable that I actually feel like I'm doing an injustice even putting it on the list. Give Space Pirate Mito some credit, because at least it does new concepts on top of the usual anime high school superhero tropes.
Robot Jones isn't even an anime. You want a real anime? You should watch Seinfeld.
And Breadwinners does new concepts all the time. And at least you could make out what sort of characters our casts are supposed to be in the Ratchet and Clank movie, but this show is on par with Johnny Test.
Wait, Teach, can you slow down? You're cramming too much in and it's not really to your advantage. Will this be on the final exam?
Did you just barely above... Final thoughts? Nope, fuck it.
But unlike Johnny Test, its cancellation after 2 seasons was mercifully swift. I mean, hey, if you like it, that's perfectly understandable, because the way I see it, I know every show has its fans.
Oh, hi there, Search for the Worst. What are you doing? Nope, not. Final thoughts.
Oh, looky here. Hi, I hate everything. How you doing today? Do you hate yourself yet?
Of course he does. Look at what channel he's on.
And I've stated at least one reason why, but I wouldn't mind to see another data log entry during the middle bar of the Search for the Worst. Well, Cartoon Network realized that putting an out-of-place extraordinary in a mundane and ordinary setting, it was utter drug to begin with, so they took the Galaxy High approach and slapped a normal human into an extraordinary school. An animal school, if you will, and thus my gym partner as a monkey was born.
But wait, doesn't that count as a cartoon in a school setting? So really, my gym partner as a monkey falls under this particular category you call a problem.
Hey, Boone told me to tell you guys something. It was something about, I don't know, final thoughts or something. I wasn't really paying attention.
Why are you still here? Members only, bitch!
Hopefully Robbie will come banging on my door to make me review an episode of this show, because I find it perfectly okay. But what they didn't learn was why such a premise is flawed to begin with. It makes for predictable television.
You know what? No, I'm gonna save mine for my final thoughts. I originally didn't want to have final thoughts, but fuck it. The point here actually made me want to have one. Fuck everything, I'm going with BoonSlayer.
And then there were 2. It's just you and me now, George.
I think you mean you, me, and my rock.
You may have mild psychological issues.
Teacher told me that there was going to be more on the final essay. I can't fail this class.
In case you're wondering, yes, we are proper pissed that the Powerpuff Girls reboot Star favorite trio in the middle school without even bothering to age up the designs.
I'm sorry, but what, dude? They aren't even in middle school. It's an elementary school. I guess you could make the argument it's a combination of an elementary and middle school, but either way, bro, they explain in the same episode that preschool got destroyed, which is why the girls are even, like, hair.
Wow, I didn't know rocks were surfers.
Well, maybe a certain kind of wave, if you catch my drift, bro.
Curia wave?
Dude, I'm talking about weed.
I know Bob Boyle has done a lot better with Yin Yang Yo, but I have a feeling that I'm gonna have to ask TV's Kyle to give you the talk. Like, have him just walk up to you and say,
Most human females?
But that's Mr. Enter.
Oh, hi, Mr. Nope.
You had to say something eventually.
Final goddamn thoughts!
Majority of the female population has them in some form. And, you know, the species, actually no, the entire mammalia class of animals wouldn't exist without them.
I'm at Comic-Con!
Flash.
Honest to God, these are probably the worst end credits I've ever seen. And there's a problem when someone has to point out the fucking end credits! Notice how multiple screens flash for maybe a second or two with Patreon and some other crap, but pauses long for social media and 9 other videos with, get this, no annotations. What is the point of having those if you're not going to provide annotations? There's not even any titles on the 9 videos, so if someone was somehow interested, they probably wouldn't know what the fuck they're trying to find. Oh, and as for that Patreon, don't expect that to go anywhere if your content quality remains how it is.
Also, I get for the fact that you want to draw everything, but brah, for the logos of the other websites on the top left, you do realize that PNGs exist because, holy crap, look at that fat bybird. Oh, and before you argue, I'm pretty sure that you didn't draw Sans. Oh, and adding on to Ernie's point, they don't have annotations as well. Yes, you do place in the usernames for your social media accounts, but trust me, that's easier for your overall audience.
Wait, MTR, I thought you said only final thoughts.
George, I told you, I can't fail this test.
Okay then. Anyway, for one last thing to point out is this blurb near the end. Please ignore the official release? In this case, no, you'd be wrong on that. So wrong since Robot Jones is at least considered a decent show with a following. Ignoring whatever the hell that ending was.
I wish critics had better reasons for hating on the Ratchet & Clank movie. I mean, what's the deal? Just because it's based off a video game series doesn't mean it sucks.
Okay, cool. Except one problem. Were you trying to say that video game movies get hated on simply because they're video game movies? No. Video game movies don't get much good attention because, most of the time, video game movies are adapted poorly. Just take a look at films such as any video game film that Uwe Boll directed. Did those suck because they're based on video games? Fuck no, they're bad because they're badly written.
Another thing I'd like to point out is that you don't show anything that says that critics dislike the film because video game movie. All you show is the ratings, which doesn't tell us any of what you just claimed. You can't use something and pretend that it's evidence. You have to use actual evidence or else the audience will have no reason to believe you.
Also, one major issue here is that this small bit paints you out as a blind fan unable to accept any negative opinions on this movie. Whether intentional or not, this introduction does not give your viewers the best impression on your mindset when commentating on this review. The worst part is that I actually pointed this out while half asleep when you asked me to look at your script, and you kept this mistaken anyway.
We're in the first 11 seconds, and already we—
Donnie, you're about to do a cliche.
Am I wrong, though?
Yeah.
Look at all these reviews. Oh, look, a positive. Oh, look, a negative one.
Why are there black fucking borders in the video when you clearly show later that you are perfectly capable of covering the whole screen? Or at the very least, you could have made a joke saying, oh shit, I don't have a background. Better get one. Be consistent.
There's also the fact that he scrolled past several reviews that were possibly more negative than Animat's. Oh, but you watched the one positive review, so that's good to know.
A few moments later.
Looks like I got some steam to let off.
Oh, so you do have a background. Where was this in the past few seconds?
Where the script came from, George? Up his fucking ass.
Time to experiment!
Why do I feel like I've been here before?
Now, I'm gonna skip ahead a minute, mostly because the first minute is just a bit of history leading up to the eventual review. It isn't bad, there's just nothing to say. So when I'm gonna skip a segment of this video, you'll see this.
Next! That's nice and all, but it hurts you in the long run. While it's mostly true that the beginning of Animat's review is unimportant for your points, it's important to keep in mind about Animat not playing the Ratchet games for later.
There are points where you're inconsistent with showing the skip card when you're skipping. Plus, why are you explaining what a skip card is in the first place?
To accommodate the viewers that lack common sense?
The story.
Nice to know that your category transitions have remained incredibly bland and slow. Just a fading screen with a slightly cropping image and stationary text. Come on, this is 2016, not 2009. Flare up a little bit. Add a clip from a movie or a trailer instead of having a stationary picture. Add some effects to your text. Add a small music clip. Is that too much to ask?
Why are you making a mountain out of an anthill? It's not that it looks bad, it's just simple.
This isn't a countdown where the transitions could use a clip to liven it up. In this type of video, a simple transition would work since throughout the whole video we're looking at trailer footage anyway.
Plus, what would really be the purpose of having them for the transitions if it happens within the segments?
However, when you take that plot and put it into a movie, where the story is one of the most important factors.
Wait, what? Did you just skip over Animat explaining how video game plots can be ignored if the game can be fun? With how you did it, anyone who had not seen the original video will be confused as to what Animat is bringing up. Along with that, even if they saw the original video, they will notice this inconsistency very easily. Like me. First one way dash skips a lot of important stuff. Now you.
Then there is no excuse for being lazy with it, and what happened here is just terrible. In fact, only a fraction of the movie actually contains what seems to be a plot. But even at that, it's only during the first act when Ratchet wants to be a Galactic Ranger, and the movie is so dependent on using cliches that you can immediately know what will happen during the rest of the movie in just the first 5 minutes. Considering how it only gives us about 30, maybe 40 minutes of story, and the rest is just nothing but one big space mission, this is the kind of writing where the last time I've experienced it was in Planes. And you know when you're bad at writing, when you're at the same level as a cheap spin-off of Cars.
I will admit that the story could have been better, but you don't ever explain why the film's story is non-existent, why it was just one big space mission, and furthermore, why it was comparable to Planes. So why did you make these claims if you're not going to bother backing them up?
The problem I have with what you said is that Animat just described how the story was structured. Should a review need to go into minute detail about absolutely everything even when he's also trying to bring in other aspects of the story? I'm sorry, but you're expecting way too much from Animat, especially since his regular reviews are what he saw from the movie that recently came out. Plus, seeing as I was a person who not only saw both reviews but also saw both films, yeah, I know. Animat isn't too far off with his comparison. With Planes, there is little focus given to the characters and they rush right into the race within 30 minutes. And Ratchet has the same issue as Animat described.
Also, have you taken into consideration that even though the movie tried to have a story that translated into movie material, that it also wanted to play it safe? Here's what I mean. Previous video game adaptations like Blood Rain and the Super Mario Bros. Movie blew for having a story that was not loyal to their source material, and tried to go all out to create something that in the end didn't work. The way I see it, having a simple story for a first outing in film territory is a smart move.
It's not a smart move to play it safe, because if the first film wouldn't have a strong start, then there wouldn't even be a second. And considering the piss poor amount of money in the box office, even with how small the budget is, there won't even be a second movie. Hell, there probably won't even be a Sly Cooper movie. Not only that, but if the story's too simple, then oftentimes it'll be too predictable. And if it doesn't do anything to twist the concept or make it more entertaining, then less people would be willing to watch it.
You know, just to see how things go and make future movies even better. But even then, the movie did not just copy the story from the original game. It had a similar premise, sure, but it threw in new twists and turns that went under your scope unrealized.
Oh, so the plot follows the original games to the point where it plays it safe. Except when it throws in these twists and turns. Also, Animat didn't notice these massive changes because he never played any of the games. So of course he wouldn't mention any of them. Why should he have to mention any of the games when he's looking at the movie? Was there some rule passed recently where you have to experience the material before watching the film adaptation? Well, shit. I guess I'll have to read all the novels before I can watch The Hunger Games or Lord of the Rings.
Or Howard the Duck for the Marvel Cinematic Universe!
Not to mention, a lot of the events in the story, like Orc's Redemption, weren't in the original game, but rather games that followed suit. It incorporated these to form a story that is good enough for movie material and faithful to the series it's based on.
Okay, but was it executed well?
Nope!
Just because a movie has a good concept, that doesn't mean it's good. It has to be well executed or else it will fall apart.
And even if it was—
Burn it! Burn it! Burn it! Burn it! Burn it to the ground!
Should we stop him? At this rate, he'll burn this whole building to the ground.
Nah, this is fun to watch. I'm getting my popcorn.
And even if it was a standalone, it'd still be just fine, because while it probably is simple in hindsight, they legitimately made it more interesting as the movie went on, with the whole business of the heroes being torn up through words rather than action, and a plot twist with the villains, which I won't spoil. Sure, the elements of the movie are understood more if you've played some games within the series, and I will admit it wasn't a good move to make the movie understood more by fans.
So you admit the problem's there. So how is Animat invalid by default? You literally just said that making the movie be more understood by fans is dumb, and yet a guy like Animat, one who hasn't played a Ratchet game prior and reviewing the movie as is, cannot talk stuff about the movie since he has to play the games, which is— GAH! God damn, these interjections were long.
Like my list of complaints with this commentary.
But then you also have the humor, which you can really tell that it's trying to give the film a really meta and snarky tone. But it forgets to do one thing: be funny. And because of that, it gives a bit of an annoying tone throughout the film. It's like a guy who subtly laughs at his own bad jokes. It's not enough to scream out, "Shut up!" but it gives you a good reason why not to like him.
Ignoring the whole humor is subjective argument, you again forgot to elaborate. All you say is that the humor's meta and snarky.
Do I need to burn something again?
Donnie, No.
Which doesn't give the viewer a good idea of what you mean. Furthermore, you don't even show any jokes you found unfunny. You need something to prove your point. You can't just say that while playing trailer footage that contributes nothing to your argument. You need to show a joke you found unfunny, or tell us one of them, not just expect us to take your word for it without any evidence. Your audience is not a bunch of sheep.
You know, with copyright being such a minefield for everyone on this site, you think Jack would know that using anything other than trailer footage would possibly lead to this video getting a strike, right? Also, Animat did explain how the jokes felt snarky, and Meta527 the
Okay, let me step in. He was saying how it's like a guy who tries really hard to be funny and laughs at his own jokes. You know, if you actually analyze his point more, then you wouldn't be saying this.
But, with all that said though, I do have a feeling that the film is not meant to impress critics like me or for the general public. It has one target audience and one target audience only, and that is the fans of the franchise.
This can be completely debunked using personal experiences. A good chunk of my real-life friends don't have a lot of experience with Ratchet & Clank and enjoyed the movie just fine. Heck, one of them even said the movie was an underdog and really deserved more praise. And I think they go under the general public area.
Yeah, he went there. He just said that because his friends like the film, that means Animat is wrong? How? Just saying that your friends liked it means absolutely nothing. Seriously, personal reasons, especially in this scenario, don't work whatsoever.
Just because people outside the target audience enjoyed it, that doesn't mean that everyone outside or inside of that group will enjoy it.
Hey guys, my friends at high school unironically like the High School Musical films. Are they good movies? Jokes aside, Angry Joe and his two friends went to watch the film and hated it. To put insult to injury, they saw two other people in the same theater who watched the movie and looked bored out of their minds. Hell, this ridiculous logic can be used to discredit good movies, so really, what's the logic here?
Not only does this movie take its time to introduce many small elements screaming out, "Hey, remember this from the games?" but it also throws in many PlayStation references to please the gaming audience.
That was awesome!
Where's the PlayStation reference? Is it here? Nope. Is it here? Guess not. Is it here?
Nope.
You told a fact about the movie itself and failed to present anything proving it, and instead just played a random clip from the trailer. If you're not allowed to use clips from the movie because of copyright, why not just tell one of the many references in this movie? There are several of them, but you presented none of them, and instead added a random trailer clip that contributed nothing. GG.
You do realize that you got onto him for not showing clips earlier, and now you're saying that it'd be difficult because of copyright? Not only that, but the movie was still in theaters at the time of the review's release, so there was no way for him to get more clips. You should have cut that earlier point out. Be consistent!
On top of that, what would saying the exact PlayStation reference really do to help the review? He mentioned the PlayStation references as nothing more than a side note. It wasn't really major, so he briefly mentioned it and moved on. Why are you getting on his case for extremely small things?
The only thing that I can give this credit for is that at least the animation is pretty good. Even if I haven't played the games, I can tell the overall look and design of the characters are very faithful to how they appear in the games. Considering that this is a sci-fi flick, it does have some things to its advantage. The character designs are pretty creative and bring out some unique and fun-looking results, and it does use a lot of the weapons and gadgets to its potential. If only they were subtler about them instead of pointing a giant arrow to them saying that it's a reference to the games. Also, I will say that even the character animation is well done. They don't have the best reputation, but the animators at Rainmaker do show that they have talent. Not to mention the other elements in the visuals are well done, like the textures, the lighting, and especially the effects.
Hey Jack, buddy, where are you? You got the whole commentary thing to do and stuff? Donnie, did you scare him away with your little burning fit earlier?
What? I couldn't do that!
If I can say something, you could have sped this up. Would have saved a lot of time and not have this drag out. Just saying.
However, now that the good portions are out of the way, there are some things that could be problematic here. The one issue that seems more of a distraction with the visuals is that it looks like it wants to be Star Wars.
What in the name of... What? You're actually commenting on how it wants to be Star Wars? No. It wants to be a representation of its own franchise. Star Wars and Ratchet & Clank share almost nothing in common aside from both being sci-fi films taking place in immense galaxies. If we're going by your judgment, it'd be perfectly fine to say the Silent Hill movie was trying hard to be Saw. Screw me.
Hold up, sonny boy. Let him finish first.
No, Jack! Never! You don't have my consent!
Every place that Ratchet and the Galactic Rangers go to feel like they've been lifted directly from Star Wars. So it takes away some of the originality that the franchise would offer.
Would offer? What the actual heck do you know about originality in the franchise since you haven't played any of the games?
Jack, he wasn't accusing the Ratchet & Clank series as a whole with ripping off Star Wars. Animat is still talking about the Ratchet & Clank film and is probably just complaining about how the film specifically might have borrowed several ideas from another sci-fi film.
While on the subject, if we're going by your logic of every location feels like it was ripped from Star Wars, we can draw up comparisons between Star Wars and literally every movie that came out after and even before it. Does every film that has an immense atmosphere and with different themed areas automatically count as a Star Wars ripoff? Because that's what your argument is telling your viewers. You might not have meant it that way, but that's what you're saying with that point.
I want to bring something up that can take away anything you can get out of Jack's argument. During the part that Jack skipped out, it showed a clip from the movie in Metropolis. For those who have seen my commentary on One Wicked Dash, I pointed this out when he said that the movie has no visual comparison with Star Wars. However, all I did was point the clip initially. Now, allow me to go further with that point I made before. In the clip that Animat plays, one can get a good grasp of how Ratchet & Clank can take some elements away from Star Wars. More specifically, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. In the beginning bits of Attack of the Clones, there was the huge city with flying cars going all around the place. In Ratchet & Clank, Metropolis is a huge city with flying cars going all around them. You see what I mean? Sure, not everything Ratchet does is like Star Wars, but there are times when it's really evident. Bottom line, learn to analyze, you're not good at it.
Also, not only does it try, and fail, to be a comedy, but it also tries to incorporate many action scenes, which I guess are the parts where the player would do something in the games. They could have worked and be effective, but the problems are that 1. The design of the enemies look too goofy to be taken seriously, and 2. There is no feeling of investment towards the characters, and trust me, I'll get to that later.
Goofy enemy design in a Ratchet & Clank form of media? Gee, that's a first for the series. Actually, it isn't. It's been a staple of the series since day one.
He hasn't played the games. How is he supposed to know? He shouldn't have to research the games to understand the movie, because the movie is supposed to introduce new people to Ratchet & Clank while fans can still enjoy it.
But even if you found them too goofy, give some explanation. You viewers don't have a good idea of what too goofy means in this case, so you gotta give some sort of detail as to what makes them too goofy for your tastes. Your audience is not a bunch of Mr. Zircons either.
Well, that's a nice white background on that Mr. Zircon pic. I mean, it's not like I can find a PNG of that character on Google Images. Oh wait, never mind.
I'm more wanting to point out how he's saying that Animat is treating his fans like they're a bunch of Mr. Zircons. So you're telling me that Animat is treating his fans like they're tiny robots who do wisecracking insults and shoot constantly? Look, buddy, you try to defend this movie, yet you don't know the basic personality of a well-known character in the series. Good job.
Wow, Animat's fans sound badass.
Yup, they sure are.
And when he said he'll get to the investment in the characters later, remember that this review's been failing so far, and just imagine what that'll be like.
Jack, you're not supposed to tell the audience what to think. If Animat's review is as bad as you're claiming it to be, then your viewers would come to that conclusion themselves. Even if this was unintentional, by doing this you're coming off as really condescending to your audience.
And even then, you're doing a piss poor job of showing that he's failing. Your commentary is the thing that's failing right now. For fuck's sake, Jack!
But the biggest problem with this movie is how it all came out in the rendering. If the rendering was a lot better, this film would have looked fantastic.
Care to explain what you mean by rendering? You left that complaint incredibly vague to the point where most people are going to have no idea what you're talking about. The footage you show doesn't do you justice either, as someone could see this and think it looks just fine. You gotta explain what you mean instead of leaving us in the dark.
We'll link a definition of rendering in the description below, but it's a process where you add color, shading, etc. to add images onto a screen. Meaning that he's saying stuff like the color and shading could have been done better.
Also, to kind of take a few pages from the Flamicon, the general aspects that Animated was alluding to when it comes to rendering was to stuff like the bloom effect or certain materials, textures not looking as good as they should, or in certain cases, unnatural movement. This is further emphasized with the fact that the movie was aired in theaters and it was stretched onto a much larger screen, making these visual problems worse.
But instead, it makes the overall visuals a bit sloppy, and instead of a movie, it looks more like, well, a cutscene powered by a gaming console.
You actually have a problem with a video game-based movie looking like a video game?
No, you're not getting your media clip. That was an incredibly stupid point to make. You wanna know why? You missed Animat's point. He was saying that with how the rendering came out, it didn't look as good as it should, and how it looks like something you would see in a cutscene in a video game, rather than, oh I don't know, a movie.
Hell, Animat wasn't complaining that it looked like a video game, he was complaining that it looked so close to the game counterpart that odds are it was ripped from one of the more recent Ratchet & Clank games. In fact, these clips look so close to the games it would appear that this movie was just reworked cutscenes from the 2016 remake of Ratchet & Clank 1.
It's actually used around 20 minutes of the movie. Need proof? Here, we'll give it out.
I'm happy to field all questions on their behalf.
Dallas Wanamaker here. Does this mean you'll be asking these two heroes to join the Rangers?
Say what now?
Well,
I don't see why not. And that is how dumb luck helped a rookie Lombax take out a Blargian warship.
Do you not realize how laughably stupid that sounds?
I'll wait till later for that.
I mean, sure, the animation in this movie isn't spectacular, but have you ever considered that they intentionally went with this animation style to pay respects to the original series?
You're fighting a losing battle. Stop it!
Visual style that was not a good representation to their series. So the fact that they went with this art style shows that they were trying to be faithful. But then again, you knew squat about the series going into this movie.
I said stop!
So, screw me again.
No, Jack, I don't swing that way. You can have Donnie instead.
Yeah! If these are the playable characters in the games, then I would probably never go play a single Ratchet & Clank game. I'll say this right now that the heroes of the film are purely despicable and poorly written. Starting with Ratchet, he begins as the old trope of the guy who wants more in life and dreams to be a galactic ranger. But once he becomes one, he's now just the bland hero who's so uninteresting, he would just blend in with the other characters for a good chunk of the movie.
Explain! Explain! Explain!
Gee, his numerous failures at elaboration are making me sound like a broken record.
Gee, I wonder why. You know, maybe, just maybe, you should have skipped more of the videos so you wouldn't have to repeat yourself so much!
But he doesn't have a skip cut. Oh.
But his audience won't get how a skip card would work. Oh.
As for Clank, he's basically a ripoff of C-3PO, but just take away any sort of personality.
Back to the freaking Star Wars comparisons that make no sense, I see. Tell me, Matt, if Clank's a C-3PO knockoff, why can't Clank speak in 6 million languages? Why didn't C-3PO get in the center of any action scene and was always the one to cower away from them? Why do they have different personalities? You know, since you have almost 50k subscribers and lots of positive feedback, I expected you to be more professional instead of saying crap like this. And again, there are details right in front of you proving that statement completely wrong, but you didn't realize them. And also, you're the first person I've heard say this. It's almost like you're not thinking of professional criticisms, and instead yanking random petty complaints out of your butt. Maybe you are.
That last one could apply to you too, you motherfucker!
Guys, we have no credit! We only have 200 subscribers!
We must literally bow before our Lord and Savior, Leafy is here.
Chairman Drek is one of the villains that wants to blow up planets because let's rip off Star Wars some more and build a new planet because reasons.
Last time I checked, Star Wars never had a plot of a villain wanting to build a whole planet by taking chunks of older ones, but rather every villain in Star Wars wished to take over the galaxy. As for the because reasons part, Drek wanted to build a new planet where he and everyone who helped him could live perfect lives on, as Drek absolutely hated living on his original planet. Again, the movie explains this and gives details to make it all clear that it's not just there to rip off Star Wars. How the crap are you this lazy to realize that?
While I can agree that Drek's plan is not exactly like Darth Vader's plan in Star Wars, it does have some similarities between the two. Case in point, what do they use for both of their plans? A giant spaceship where the villains reside, and they use the giant laser attached to it, destroying planets with it. And while you can say that this is part of an already existing trope, the whole basis of blow up planet with giant laser is pretty evident between the two.
There's also the fact that, taken with no prior knowledge, this scene right here shows a planet being blown up like in a previously mentioned film, along with the fact that the older PS2 games emphasized that Drek was taking chunks from planets and not blowing them up. By the way, how would you take a chunk out of a planet if you went out of your way to blast it to smithereens beforehand?
If you wanted to prove him wrong, then emphasize the actual difference between Ratchet & Clank and Star Wars. You could have said that just because two things are similar, that doesn't mean it's a ripoff. You had something you could have debunked, but you didn't. What the fuck?
Along with his tough robot assistant, Victor. But then there's Captain Quark. The most selfish, idiotic, hateable thing that this movie has to offer.
Oh, so Quark is a lot like he was in the original game. Good to know, mate. I mean, it's not like they did that to be loyal to the franchise or anything. That's just absurd, even for adaptation standards.
But how would he know? Fuck it. Let's just move on.
What a coincidence that this is from Rainmaker. Because he's like Scorched Supernova from Escape from Planet Earth, incarnated into a video game character.
Captain Quark debuted in the original Ratchet & Clank game in 2002. Escape from Planet Earth did not come out until 2013, so if anything, Scorched Supernova is early Captain Quark incarnated into a movie character.
I don't even have to say anything. I could just play this. Except he's making the comparison with what Rainmaker, the animation studio, did before, not the franchise in general. You're right that Quark was created before Escape from Planet Earth, but his comparison isn't too far off, considering that Escape from Planet Earth came before the Ratchet movie. You know, it's really sad when an argument I made to someone else tackling the same video debunks you as well.
You even watched the co-op commentary on One Winged Dash, as evident by your comment on the video, so there's no fucking excuse for making the same point that was already debunked. How in the rotten Taco Bell shit did you miss this?
Are we even needed here? You seem to be discrediting your own points without us. Can we just put a long credit scene here and just call it a day?
Nuh-uh. We're finishing this. We have 5 minutes left on this beast.
Along with his team of galactic idiots, all he does is be so stupid and act like he's the best at everything.
I don't know, man. That sounds pretty faithful to me.
Yeah? Master TP-10? We have this clueless space ranger doing the know you. Yes, the know you. Yeah, we'll send the bill for 8 pesos.
Aren't we in the US?
I'm Mexican, you racist!
Huh. Actually, that would explain this giant wall between us.
He glorifies his stupidity by giving those who are smarter than him a really hard time, like Ilaris, who is possibly the only tolerable character in this. And the saddest part about this guy is that he's so dumb and unlikable that it even makes me want to root for the villains. Dr. Nefarious has every right to become the Ranger's enemy for his poor treatment from them, and when the villains try to manipulate Quark, the plan is ridiculous, yet I can believe that it works because only someone that's as absent-minded as him can be dumb enough to fall for it. Seriously, is he like this in the games? How could anyone be excited for this if the characters are this unpleasant to sit through?
You only seem to have a gigantic beef with Quark, where I will admit got too much focus on the film, but besides that, you only said that Ratchet was generic, Clank was a C-3PO knockoff, and Drek was just there to be evil, and you didn't give any evidence to back those up, unlike Quark where you tried to explain, and that shows that you barely paid attention to the rest of the cast. If you found the other characters unlikable, go over what you didn't like about them, instead of just lingering on one specific character. This entire video is not meant for you to hate on one character, it's for you to give your proper thoughts on the film as a whole. Give proper thoughts instead of overblowing these idiotic claims on one specific character!
While he could have gone into more detail about the characters other than Quark, or at the very least just say, I find these other characters boring, unfunny, etc., you still overblew what Animat did. He did explain that he found Ratchet and Clank to be generic characters. And while it was a whoopsie on his part to say that all the heroes are despicable when it only applies to Quark, you still blew it out of proportion. Learn to be more honest with your audience.
Well, he did overblow how Wart is the worst final boss he ever faced. Ayo!
Also, speaking in Animat's defense, the amount of time spent with Quark in the Ratchet & Clank games are few and far between, compared to this movie which lacked the gameplay portions to break out the story. In other words, he was listening to Quark a hell of a lot more than anyone who exclusively played the games would have, making a fun and endearing idiot wear out his welcome. Fast.
It could be just the fact that I don't play the games, but after watching this, I don't think I can understand why anyone would be interested in the franchise.
People don't get drawn towards a video game series because of its stories and characters, unless they're the selling point. They get drawn into a series because of its gameplay, and the gameplay and overall charm of the Ratchet & Clank series are what draw people towards it, myself included. Also, chances are you're drawn away from the franchise because the way you saw most things in this movie is incredibly absurd, especially when you start drawing comparisons between it and Star Wars. And are you seriously disinterested in the series just because of this movie? Seriously? That's like saying you're disinterested in the Mario series based off its film adaptation, or being disinterested in any of the Dragon Ball animes just based off your opinion of Dragon Ball Evolution. Regardless of how loyal adaptations can be to their source material, they don't describe or define them, so quit shaming the fans just because you didn't like one movie in this long-lasting franchise of games.
He
didn't
shame
any
of the techie
fans.
You dumbass.
All he was saying was that the movie gave him bad first impressions for the games. It doesn't mean he was going after the fans. Maybe he could have worded that better, but that's clearly not what he actually meant.
And this is where I'm going to stop with this video, since all that's worth noting in the end is that he gave the film a 4 out of 10 and the Animat seal of garbage, the letter of which doesn't make any sense since the worst a 4 out of 10 can get is just bad in my eyes.
Have you seen many of Animat's reviews? Usually his rating system is easy to understand. If a film gets a 9 or higher, it would get the seal of approval. Conversely, if it gets below a 5, it gets the seal of garbage. Plus, you saying that 4 out of 10 is just bad and you say that the seal of garbage won't work for it, will not help the fact that is what it's for.
What should get the seal of garbage? A 2 out of 10 or lower? Well, that would make only films in the caliber of Norm of the North a garbage tier film then. Hell, it'll probably end with several bad movies getting a free pass.
Foreshadowing.
So, final thoughts. Look, I've got no problem with you not liking the Ratchet & Clank movie.
Don't fucking lie. How you made your points in this commentary seem to tell me otherwise, whether it was intended or not.
We can skip something! Whoa!
The thing that I'm getting at is, if you want to give a proper explanation as to why you didn't like a movie, you have to make points that have a decent sense of logic behind them, and analyze each and every detail of the movie to make sure your points don't sound idiotic. If you want to know what I mean by this, watch Chris Stuckman's review of the movie. He did a much better job giving proper criticism and valid points.
Again, you unintentionally made it so that you only went after this review because Animat's review was negative. I say this because you called a review that gave an average rating a much better review. Your case would be much better if you used an example of a review that was negative that you thought was better.
Now before I end this video, I want to address this. Animat, I do not intend for this commentary to be a cyber attack on you. I just see several glaring issues that need to be addressed. I hope you can give these criticisms some thought, because I do believe that you can make some very impressive videos. Heck, you've made some alright videos in the past, so I hope you can make more videos like these, and a lot less videos like this one.
Well, let's look at these 3 examples of Animat expressing himself with a negative review of Norm of the North, one of the most universally despised animated films of the last few years, a top 10 on the worst cartoon to live-action adaptations, filled with universally hated movies, and finally, a retrospective on Studio Ghibli, which is considered to be the most beloved animation studio in Japan. Yup, Animat is definitely expressing his radical and different opinions here.
I'm the Lightning Ripper, and I'm suddenly in the mood to play some Ratchet & Clank.
Hey look, Renegade! Your name is forever engraved in this video.
Woohoo.
You know how overrated games lists are generally terrible because they lack focus or understanding of what the word even means? Well, here's another one, and it's made by Luigi, a guy who makes discussion videos, impression videos, reviews, countdowns, basically everything except porn.
Wait, Luigi? Is he a discount RabbidLuigi?
He's a dollar store RabbidLuigi.
There are lots of games that the majority of gamers seem to like a lot for some reason, but when I get my hands on them, they're either okay or not really that good.
Wait, with that text on screen, you either do not know how to adjust how long the text is on screen, or your grammar is really subpar.
I'm more concerned that the text is left on screen for this long over footage for 3 different games when it's supposed to refer to just one game. Did you just forget to adjust how long it would be on screen? That's 10 points off for bad presentation, dude.
And before anyone says we're just nitpicking, this is still a flaw that I could easily fix in future videos. That is if he cares at all about the quality of his work. And it's the first few seconds of the video, which leaves a poor first impression. In just 7 seconds, he's already told us that he doesn't even pretend to care about his presentation.
Or he meant to leave that text up for that long and was talking about all 3 of the games he showed, in which case it should say these games. No matter how you look at it, this is not a good.
This situation's falling apart by the second.
I mean, this isn't as bad as Flame of Unity's intro, but MY EYES! Why does everyone think this is acceptable? Is this 2012? Is this from before Trains of Rage hit puberty? Is this from before I turned all my friends gay? Why the slow and low quality and poorly synced montage intros? Get my attorney!
Anyway, that was the slowest intro I've ever seen. Holy cow. Not only was the footage garbage with how laggy and slowed down it looks, it has no flow to it whatsoever. Stop messing with my funky flow.
To add on to this laggy and slow game footage, this intro is legit 30 seconds long. I get montage intros, but you really shouldn't leave the audience hanging on the last branch of the tree because of how long it is.
By the way, good luck reading that saturated blue text. I certainly tried.
This situation's falling apart by the second.
Number 5. Super Mario World. Yes, I went there. Super Mario World is one of the world's most overrated games.
Hey guys, I put Super Mario World as number 5 in overrated games list. Am I cool yet? Am I?
And right away, we see one of the most obnoxious tropes of overrated games lists at work. Fun fact, emphasizing how unpopular your opinion is or how sacred the game is comes off as seriously douchey. It may not be your intent, but it's like this.
It assumes that your audience will attack you just for having an opinion that's different from theirs, which is insulting to the audience. And it comes off as you trying to make yourself out to be some brave soul who dared to speak his onion, when really you're not special in that regard.
We get that this is the internet and there's going to be disrespectful people everywhere, but that doesn't give you a free pass to be one of them. If you want people to respect your opinion, you should give that same respect back to them. Even if the game in question is universally loved, going neener, 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 look how different my onion is, doesn't make you look good.
I don't think it's a bad game and it can be quite fun, but it certainly gets much more praise than it deserves. The gameplay is horrid. While the controls are responsive, the physics are just far too slippery, making it near impossible to land on small platforms or even stay on one.
Okay, let's pretend for a second that you made a valid complaint against Super Mario World. Would it kill you to find footage that actually meshes what you're saying? Because what you are showing doesn't demonstrate how you have a hard time landing on platforms.
Right after saying Super Mario World can be fun, you say the gameplay is horrid. If the gameplay is really as bad as you say, shouldn't it bother you enough to bog down the fun of the game as a whole? This isn't inherently contradictory, but your wording is still way off here.
And bearing in mind that this is a platformer where the challenge lies in the platforming, yeah, of course smaller platforms are harder to land on. Yeah, you have to be precise to succeed in this type of game. That's Platformer Design 101.
The level designs in this game, for the most part, are not even that memorable. Whenever I come back to the game, I can't remember where anything in the levels were like I could in any other Mario platformer. While the game did plenty of things right, it also does quite a bit wrong, preventing a solid experience.
What does the game do right and wrong? You legit don't elaborate on anything, and I'm left here on the streets confused and scared, and I go one more time, I feel like we're gonna lose it. Mommy, I don't wanna go!
Autumn, it's an overrated games list. What do you expect from this? Elaboration? That's crazy talk!
Yeah, with a list like this, you're setting yourself up to fail. Why put in the effort to begin with? Quality control's a foreign concept to those stuck in 2012.
And for that entire segment, you threw out vague statements and didn't even bother to talk about why the game gets too much praise. You mentioned a few negative qualities about the game, sure, but this isn't a games I don't like countdown. It's an overrated games countdown, and half of the equation is the praise the game gets. You failed to bring this up even once, meaning that this whole segment went absolutely nowhere.
Number 4, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. If I didn't make it clear already, I don't like games that aren't clear on what to do or where to go.
I mean, of course you didn't make it clear beforehand because it's the first time you bring it up in this video.
Hey, could have said something similar in the previous video.
Maybe, but the way he worded it makes it sound like he already talked about it in this particular video. Newcomers,
like us,
wouldn't have known this before watching.
Link's Awakening is no exception. I get lost very easily whenever I play, and when I am lost in a game not knowing what to do or where to go, I'm not having fun at all. Some say figuring out where to go or what to do is part of the fun, but let me ask, how is that even fun at all?
Yo, Scrub, get good.
Or, maybe that was kind of the point of Legend of Zelda, to find your own way around, because it's a exploration game? What did you expect Zelda to be, an on-rails FPS? Guys, get the guns!
I'm on it, I'll be right back.
The game isn't going to hold your hand all the time, it's trusting you the player to figure it out. And a lot of people like to get lost in the game world. How dare us for having a different opinion?
Whether you find the exploration fun or not is irrelevant, because this is an explorative game. If that's not your thing, it doesn't make the game overrated, it just means it's not for you.
It's not like the world is terribly monotonous anyway. Link's Awakening has a variety of landmarks to help you get your bearings, which is more than can be said for, say, the first Zelda game. Which brings up an interesting question. Every game in the Legend of Zelda series demands to some degree that you figure out where to go or what to do. Why are you singling out Link's Awakening for this? How is it a worse offender than other games in the series?
Imagine you're out in the middle of the woods and you have no clue where you even are on the planet. Chances are, you're most likely not having fun when you're lost.
Probably because you're not out killing enemies, visiting landmarks, collecting things, or interacting with people when you're lost somewhere in real life.
Making a game like this is like releasing a game called Good Luck Figuring Out What the Heck You're Supposed to Do in This Game rated F for frustration. Sometimes people aren't even able to make it home. But that's enough about that. Let me make this clear. I don't hate the game. I've certainly enjoyed it when I knew what I was doing or where I was going. I've constantly been checking a walkthrough on my 3DS, leaving a questionable amount of time on my internet browsers, just so I could advance in the game. I'm not a fan of confusing games.
If you didn't have an issue later on and enjoyed the game as you got good, also using a walkthrough good scrub with the game's main fundamentals, why is it still on this list? This really goes down to the matter of opinion and not really overrated. Hell, you even said that you're not a fan of these types of games, so that automatically makes your reasoning for it being overrated fall flat. Can someone shoot me now?
I got the guns! Did I hear someone wanted to off themselves?
Jesus, I was kidding!
Aw, come on!
Well, there goes the ammo. Now, how about this rocket launcher?
You can kill yourself after this commentary is done.
Pushing aside how overkill George's method of suicide is, for this entire segment you didn't give any mention of what makes this game overrated. At least with Super Mario World you mentioned that the game was popular. Here you didn't give any indication that the game is even praised. You only talk about what you don't like about the game, and that's it. You seeing a pattern here yet?
Number 3. Cave Story. Not even sure how this one got so popular.
Thanks for giving way that you didn't even try to understand why the game is praised, thus rendering moot the entire point of an overrated games list. I find it difficult to take your opinion seriously when you're this lazy about presenting it.
Sure, the beginning of the game is fine and all, and makes you believe that you're going to have a good time. Cave Story is one of the games that lied to me. This game suffers from one of the biggest flaws an RPG could have.
What? Freaking what? Cave Story is a platform adventure game, you frick!
I'm going to die of AIDS and scream until I pass out!
Hold me back, guys! I'm gonna kill him!
No, Brooke! He has so much to live for! Think of the children, Brooke! Think of the children!
Do you think I care?
I didn't know games could lie to you. Let's chalk this up to unrealistically high expectations, shall we?
Backtracking. Backtracking is one of the worst things that you could ever put into a video game. It wouldn't be so bad if you didn't have to go back that far, but no, you have to go clear back to the beginning of the area. Once I get to the end of the section, I'll find out I'll need something from earlier on, but I wouldn't have been able to get it then because I'd have to trigger that event at the end of the section. This game is also not very clear on what to do or where to go. It seems pretty straightforward at first, but once you've made it far enough, you're likely going to take a while to figure out what needs to be done.
Backtracking is inherently bad? Duly noted. Sorry, Metroid, you don't have a single good game. You may not find it fun, but there is an audience for games with backtracking that can be done well. But you don't go any further into this. Did Cave Story handle backtracking poorly? If so, then how? Do you see how the lack of elaboration really hurts your presentation?
Let's look in some of the areas of the game, shall we? Mimiga Village. You have to explore around to get to the next area, but it isn't that big. Egg Corridor. Yes, you have to go all the way to the end and back after you rescue Sue, but again, it isn't that big of an area, so backtracking isn't that bad. Plus, you should have gotten the missile launcher, making it 2 weapons you can switch between to blast enemies on your way back. And finally, Grass Town. Yes, there are bits where you have to backtrack, some longer than others, but the level is still small enough for it to not take too long to get where you need to go. The game does gradually expand the amount of backtracking you need to do, but the levels are compact enough to where it doesn't take that long unless you really suck at the platforming. It's not too common where you need to backtrack through the entire level without it broken up in some way. Also, this game does expect you to explore and figure things out. There are NPCs littered about that can give you tiny hints of what to do or where to go. This is an exploration Metroidvania game at its core, and if you don't like having to explore and to progress, there isn't much that can be done about that.
And even then, backtracking isn't necessarily an aspect of Cave Story that the game is praised for. For all you know, it could be something that even fans of the game generally don't like much, which makes your point about the game being overrated considerably less valid. If the game gets undeserved praise for an aspect that isn't praised, then is the game overrated? No!
Another one of Cave Story's biggest problems is its level system. It is the only game I've ever played where your weapons level down. I get that games need some challenge, but this is more of an inconvenience than anything.
It's not an RPG, you scrub nugget! This is supposed to bring more balance to the game by giving you an incentive to not get hit. And the game gives you more ways of evading attacks as you go along. It's a way for the player to improve their skills at the game. It's literally the get good mechanic. If your weapon stayed at level 3, the game would be too easy. I hope your pencil lead breaks.
Also, screw Curly Brace. I don't like her at all.
Let's not explain why I don't like Curly Brace. I'll just say fuck you and leave it at that. Sound good? Good. Audiences definitely don't need elaboration.
It was a joke, Autumn. It's perfectly acceptable when it's a joke.
Oh, my mistake. I keep forgetting that Luigi shit scripting is just a prank, bro.
Number 2, Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
You're kidding me, right? Brawl is considered by the Smash Bros. Fanbase to be one of those series' weaker entries, and the ones that get the most praise and attention are Melee and Smash 4. Spending even 5 minutes in the Smash fanbase would tip you off that Brawl isn't remembered fondly. Do you even internet?
Also, it's evident that this was a top 5 most disappointing games list in disguise all along. It was apparent in the number 5 segment, the number 4 segment, number 3... Wait... It's the Illuminati!
Why must you lie to us like this?
This situation's falling apart by the second.
The graphics, oh gosh, I can't stand them. It looks so awful. How is it that the polygons from the original are so much nicer to look at?
How?!
I first played this game in a friend's house, and I didn't even last 5 minutes in this installment because it was so awful. The first 2 games had it right, and out comes this game almost ruining the franchise for me, yet everybody loves this garbage.
What did we just say about the general opinion of this game now? What corner of the internet are you hanging out in?
Heck, I was pretty skeptical on Smash 4, which I found out wasn't that bad, but Super Smash Bros. No longer feels the same, all because of Brawl.
While I could talk about how childish this makes you look, given that apparently games that aren't Brawl are less enjoyable because of Brawl, this does not matter. Your opinion on the franchise as a whole is irrelevant to why you think Brawl is overrated. Luigi, here's how you write an entry to an overrated games list. Talk about why the game is popular and offer your different perspective.
What's great about this spectacular failure is that from a certain angle, you can legitimately call this game overrated with statistics backing you up. Of all the Super Smash Bros. Games, Brawl has the highest review scores and the highest sales figures, yet you think it's the worst in the series. A perfectly good explanation was right there in front of you, yet you missed the mark entirely.
This situation's falling apart by the second.
It's just Metroid has the same flaw as Link's Awakening. It's not clear on what to do or where to go. However, Link's Awakening was much better about it.
But how? You had Link's Awakening on the list and you criticized it for the exact same thing for which you're criticizing Metroid. I get that some games are better about handling a thing you don't like than others. I get that one game with a huge flaw may have more things to enjoy than another game with the same flaw. But by that point, you should probably consider going back to your script and at least trying to tell us how Link's Awakening was supposedly better or Metroid was supposedly worse. There are definitely words coming out of your mouth right now, but you're not actually saying anything. If not for your delivery and speaking pattern, I would be completely convinced that you went at this unscripted. That's how poorly you've structured and explained your choices for this countdown.
Did you give away your final thoughts?
You know nothing!
But what else could you have to say?
Autumn, this countdown is a fountain of problems. You couldn't possibly believe this is the worst of them?
Shit!
Metroid is pretty much good luck figuring out what the heck you're supposed to do in this game, and I don't like games that leave me so confused on what I'm supposed to do. I just explore the areas waiting for stuff to happen, but the game just gives me way too many paths to choose from, and I don't even know where to go first.
I'll grant you that yes, Metroid is extremely open-ended and gives you nothing on where you're supposed to go. But consider that you're being completely unfair here. You're talking about an NES game and the founder of an entire subgenre of adventure games. It's to be expected that it'll have a lot wrong with it after 30 years being released.
This doesn't mean the problems with the game don't exist, but consider this too. You could argue that finding your own way ahead is the point of the experience. Draw your own map and try to find the quickest path through the game after multiple playthroughs if you want. Or you could take it slow and easy and enjoy your surroundings. We get that this isn't your thing, nothing is for everyone after all, but the experience of not being your cup of tea does not make the game overrated.
And you're not even the first to criticize Metroid 1 for this anyway. The general consensus on this game is that it didn't age well for the exact reasons you criticized it. Metroid 1 is mainly praised these days for founding Metroidvanias. Again, if your criticism of the game are things the game isn't praised for, it's not overrated.
This situation's falling apart by the second.
It should go without saying that I really don't care about completing the game. I'll just stick with some other stuff.
What do you mean it should go without saying? You never gave indication of this before. Why would your ambivalence toward completing games, of all things, be the one thing that should go without saying?
And what other stuff are you sticking to? Not completing games? This is so vague and useless a statement that I might actually be going blind. You did this to me, you dollar store shit!
I may have said lots of negative things about these games, however, I don't believe any of them are bad games.
Yeah, that's definitely the impression we got from this.
If you ever see me toss a Super Smash Bros. Game in the garbage, it would be Brawl.
I can see the headline now. Bullet found in the foot of trash tier countdown creator.
They just aren't as good as everyone says they are.
You say that, but not once did you bother explain why people like these games more than you do. You missed the whole point of what makes a game overrated. 10 out of 10 would reason again.
Super Mario World is fun and full of many secrets to find. It also has quite a memorable soundtrack. Link's Awakening is quite enjoyable when you know where you're going or what you're doing. Cave Story is okay for the most part, and Metroid really isn't that bad in my opinion.
You waited until now to state any positives towards 4 of the 5 games you placed on here, but that wouldn't be so bad if it was relevant in any way. This has nothing to do with what makes the games overrated, because it's not your positive remarks to these games that make them popular. It's everyone else's.
And that's the end of the video, so hey, final thoughts time.
Before we do that, you know what I just realized?
Hmm?
The title says featuring Toonsquid, but that person never appeared once in the whole video.
Oh, okay. Can we tack featuring manga comment onto the title of ours?
Great Raven, I'm appalled that you would stoop to such a deceptive—
guys?
George, stop triggering the children or I'll have to
The video's not over yet.
Wait, what?
Anyways, I didn't think that me rambling on about the things I didn't like about these games would be enough, so here's Toon Squid with a game he considers overrated.
So you brought in a guest to talk about one game they thought was overrated, even though it's completely unrelated to the rest of the countdown and it's not even in the actual list. This serves what purpose? I've seen a similar case before and, well, let's just say it won't do him good.
You know what? No, I refuse to go on any longer! This Toon Squid person did nothing throughout the entire video, and Dollar Store Rabbit here thought it'd be a great idea to just throw him in at the end! For no reason at all! I may be a commentator, but I am a human with standards, and I will not—
What? He was being loud and annoying.
The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was one of the first games I picked up for my Nintendo 3DS when it first launched, and I despised it. The game left a bad taste in my mouth with the Zelda franchise, and it still does to this day, which I occasionally receive hate for, but whatever.
Brooke, what's that?
A present for Toon Squid.
Do I even want to know?
Yeah, because it's a voice that actually emotes! Your monotone voice is putting everyone to sleep!
I feel like people overhype this game because of nostalgia and the fact that they grew up with it.
And it's definitely not because the game looks good for the time, has a well-paced story, interesting environments, side quests, puzzles, dungeons, bosses, or just because it's a fun game. No, people definitely won't have this game because of nostalgia.
I recently went through and played the game and disliked every moment of it, but at least I can use it to homebrew my Nintendo 3DS.
And it came just as quickly as he went, leaving no impact on the video except padding it out. Rip any hope for this countdown.
We'll bury our hopes alongside Raven.
Bury what now?
Never mind.
But just in case you're not clear on what was wrong with this, the title of your video says featuring Toon Squid, yet he added absolutely nothing to your segments, and the one thing he contributed to the video could have been thrown away and it would have made no difference, especially since his opinion on Ocarina of Time isn't even part of your list.
This might not be so bad if Toon Squid didn't admit in the comments that he agreed with most of your opinions on the actual countdown, meaning you could have collaborated with him in the main body of the list, yet you didn't anyway. You had a potential resource that you didn't use.
Hello? Is anyone there? I'm kinda lost. I need to go to the bathroom. Like, really bad. It's kinda dark out. Hello?
Okay, shut up, I hear you. Who are you, and what are you doing in my house?
I was just wondering if you had a bathroom.
I've got 7, though most of them don't have a urinal. What are you even doing out here in the middle of the woods?
Well, I was trying to find someone who might help me cover a video I found in—
You're a commentator?
Yeah, well, a new one anyway. I was hoping to find Scarlet Otaku. She sent me a message telling me to come over and co-op with her, but I got turned around and—
Oh, good thing you did, 'cause you found her. You got the video?
Oh yeah, it's here.
And what did you say your name was?
It's Adam.
Alright then. It's a Cat Icarus video.
Yeah, where's that bathroom again?
Closest one is down the hall on your right.
Thank you. Ah!
Watch your step.
There's a dead body in here!
Uh-huh, thanks, Captain Obvious. Now go take your whiz and hustle back. We've got a commentary to get on with.
I don't think I need to use the bathroom anymore.
Newbies.
And in that minute and a half of intro sketch, we have slow, bored acting complete with only one attempt at a joke. In other words, a lot of nothing. Listen carefully to the inflections in Adam's voice that say, I really wish I weren't here right now.
Adam, buddy, I love you, but god fucking damn it. Your acting is really stale throughout this entire intro. You sound rather bored at pretty much everything. And what makes it worse was when you found a supposed dead body, and there is little care into your scream, and it makes it underwhelming at best. You sound less like you found a dead body, and more like, I don't know, a dog pounced on you once kisses. Are we sure you're not the dead body? TLDR, put some emotion to your voice. Please!
And Scarlet, the way you set this up makes absolutely no sense. You wanted your co-op partner to come to a particular destination and you didn't even give him directions to do so, as evidenced by him getting turned around but somehow finding your place anyway. Then when he gives the material to you, you say it's a Cat Icarus video. As if that's news to you. Despite you being the one who gave Adam the material and asked him to come here in the first place.
And this could have made for a lot of jokes, like how utterly confused Adam is by your instructions that make no sense, but you don't even try. Your one joke is, oh look, a dead body in the bathroom. How quaint. And given that this is the first impression of what's to come, This is gonna be a ride.
I figured I'd start a little tame and say that Dead Space 1, in my opinion, is the only great one. Well, at least if you look at it as a sci-fi action horror game, pure and simple. It can get a little repetitive to a point where every necromorph that appears is as scary as your sister shouting boo as loud as she can. But the setting of a singular space station like in Alien 1, the gritty and dimly lit corridors, the occultist and intriguing plot that starts as something as innocent as maintenance work before going haywire, the limited approach to weapon and suit customizing, the claustrophobic, fluid-seeped atmosphere, it's at its peak with the first game if you ask me, not to mention it was more of a shock at the time.
Okay, fine. You like Dead Space 1 as opposed to the later games, but I'd hardly find that an unpopular opinion. Now see, you mentioned later on how you don't like Isaac's voice, or Isaac's character for that matter, in the second game, and comparing that to the opposing opinion that people actually like Isaac in Dead Space 2, that could be considered more of an unpopular opinion than the actual opinion you presented.
Okay, great. But why didn't you play the appropriate footage? Why did you play part of the segment that later turned out to have nothing to do with your argument, and then talk about a part of the segment you didn't play? That may seem minor, but that makes your point feel a lot muddier and is a clear showcase of bad presentation.
It's cherry picking, I know, but meh.
I could fix an apparent problem that I found within my own video, but meh.
First off, what you said isn't cherry-picking at all. In fact, you made a legitimate criticism by pointing out what Caddy could have done to make a segment more valid for the list. Secondly, even if it was cherry-picking, it's not. Don't just bring up something you found wrong with your own argument and then dismiss it like it's nothing. Both of you scripted this commentary. There's no excuse for you not to iron out all the problems you find with your points.
Now for my 9th most unpopular gaming opinion, I think Heavy Rain is awesome. Do I like David Cage and his approach to game creating? No. Does this game get me all emotional? No. And do I think this is some of the best acting in a game? Jason! Quick, I need to go downstairs now, or I'm gonna lose him in the crowd. But do I think it's one of the most ambitious games on the PS3 that mostly delivers on what it wanted to do? Yes. And do any flaws or understandable criticisms or sin about the game stop me from enjoying it? Absolutely not. I think it's a blast. Firstly, I love how it went around its design as a context-sensitive QuickTime 3D point-and-click adventure game. I know that's a point of contempt for many, but if you're gonna do QuickTime, then doing it like this makes sense and works if you ask me, like in Until Dawn, for instance. I thought every character was memorable, even though not brilliantly acted all the time. I thought the plot was dark and intriguing, and man, every single one of those endings, I wanted to see them all. And it's a game that really makes me feel as though I'm making an impact on the story and relationships with how my choices are made and what I neglected to do. With the approach of it being a QuickTime ridden game, it also meant that every second had something to pay attention to, whether it be for the reaction timing or puzzle solving. And some of the characters living or dying, depending on how much you're concentrating on these events along with the story, is something that could really stress me out in a good way. Oh, and I do think that the finger cutting part of the game is some of the tensest and nastiest things I've ever seen. This was actually great acting here. And the finger crunches, it's just lovely.
What are you talking about? I rarely ever see criticism of this game. Just David Cage himself.
Are you fucking kidding me, you turd-juggling dingleberry? Dude. What the fuck? Heavy Rain is a punchline for a fucking reason. There's a reason as to why memes such as press X to Jason, press X to shoot, the origami killer, or the market chase meme exist. Hell, Caddy himself showed the Jason meme as a punchline, and you still claim not to see much criticism of this game.
Even as the least hated David Cage game, it still gets a lot of hate for his design philosophy and is now remembered as a lot funnier than it was supposed to be. If you see a lot of criticism towards David Cage himself, that still reflects on Heavy Rain, seeing as it is a David Cage game.
If for a game you say doesn't make you emotional, talking about how you care about the characters' lives and how the finger cutting scene made you tense sure does sound like emotion to me.
Adam, that is not what he meant, and you know it. When he says that the game didn't get him all emotional, it meant that it didn't make him sad and teary or anything along that line, as people generally mean when they refer to getting all emotional the way Caddy said it. All you did was take his wording at face value and decide to base this point solely on that notion. Please don't.
And you brought up Until Dawn as an example, one of the most successful adventure games in this format in recent years. Here's a question. How is that fair? You compare a game from 2010 to a game that came out in 2015. A game from 2015 that looked at all the problems that were made by past games and learned from those mistakes to make a game that had solved the issues before with better acting, smoother gameplay, and so on. You see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, we do see what you're getting at here. And it's completely irrelevant.
Ignoring that good writing has nothing to do with the release date of any given work, Caddy brought up Until Dawn as an example of how to do quick time events correctly in a game with a David Cage-style structure, like Heavy Rain did. He pointed out a thing Heavy Rain did right, and compared it to another game that did it right. If he compared Heavy Rain unfavorably to Until Dawn, and tried to use the latter as an example of why the former isn't a good game, this point would work, but unfortunately for you, it means nothing.
Tekken is more against button mashing than Street Fighter, yeah, but you only show one of the older Street Fighter games as an example when the later games have less leniency against people who button mash. You're comparing the old games to new ones, man.
So, the fundamental gameplay of Street Fighter has been the same since Street Fighter 2. Each re-release in a new game just adds on top of the foundation, with mechanics such as parrying in Street Fighter 3, focus attacks in Street Fighter 4, and V-triggers in Street Fighter 5. The core gameplay, though, has remained consistent, meaning that it hardly matters that he's comparing the older games to the newer ones. The only way I could see this point working is if Caddy was referring strictly to the very first iteration of Street Fighter II, which is now infamous for having aged badly due to its slow speed. But since Caddy owns Street Fighter Cross Tekken, as he showed at the end of the segment, I highly doubt this is the case.
And really, button mashing in a casual environment isn't that big of an issue, since the most you're trying to get out of it is a fun time.
Even in a casual environment, can button mashing to win be considered not fun? Obviously, Caddy doesn't consider it fun, and something tells me his experience with Street Fighter wasn't at EVO.
Haven't most people accept the fact that Ocarina of Time isn't the greatest Zelda game in the series, and the games like Majora's Mask hold that title better?
That's all fine and dandy, but it's kinda irrelevant. The opinion wasn't, I don't think Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game. It was, I don't get the hype for Ocarina of Time. Just pointing out that other Zelda games have become more loved doesn't make what he said wrong. You can have other Zelda games be more praised than Ocarina of Time, and still give a lot of hype to Ocarina of Time.
Also, Eagerraptor's video being good? Let me start by saying, ha!
Ha!
Pretending that this acting is passable? Let me start off by saying, ha! Rest in peace, you poor, tortured furry.
I'm not even the biggest Zelda fan, and I can tell his video on Ocarina of Time was poor. So much of that video is just based on him not wanting to read text or his love boner for A Link to the Past being way too strong. Even your fans say so in the comment section.
Implying that opinions debunk opinions? Well, you know what, Adam? Let me start off by saying, ha!
Your opinion on Eagerraptor's video means nothing to your points. It doesn't change or address the fact that Caddicarus agreed with the thing he said in the video. You are irrelevant.
And really, the only people who say things like, "This game is the best game in the entire franchise, no exception."
Guys, keyframing is hard. But that's okay, because this editing is the best editing, no exceptions.
Scarlet, let me put this as objectively and as reasonably as I can. This editing sucks dick! Your keyframing doesn't work at all. This is something you can learn from going out of your way to observe people who animate their avatars, see Digital Tie for example, but keyframing your avatar for comedic effect is reliant on comedic timing. Take a look at this clip.
But since some other hero came up in some other point in the timeline to save some other location from some other disaster...
Notice how Ty's avatar makes quick, snappy movements with each other, the word he repeatedly emphasizes in this line. Notice how he moves in sync with the words he's emphasizing. Take a look at any example of bad keyframing.
If I find out you evolve into another fucking firefighting Pokemon,
and you'll see the difference. I can vaguely see an attempt at timing here, but your attempt falls more into the category of the latter. A lot of random movements that don't match up with what you're saying, and they just make this whole spectacle, to put it lightly, inspire lots and lots of suicide.
Our nostalgia-stricken fans. That's not a bad thing, but neither is the fact that you didn't grow up with this game. You don't need to put up a pillow fort and hide behind the barracks for an attack that isn't going to happen. At ease, soldier.
This point is so vaguely constructed that it implies one of two things, and we'll tackle both possibilities. Either your statement was just comedic hyperbole, which I could buy given the editing, or you meant this seriously. If you're being hyperbolic and playing up the opinions of Ocarina of Time fans for the joke, you're implying that everyone who thinks highly of the game is just blinded by nostalgia. Even though you say right after that it's not a bad thing, you're still wrong. People do have valid reasons of thinking highly of this game within reason, that being it's great but it's aged and it's not really the best game ever. It looks good for its time, it's packed with things to do, its world and dungeon designs have held up well, it's well paced, it's tightly made and highly functional for the first 3D Zelda game, it's influential and has made essential changes to its genre, and here's the biggest shocker, it's a really fun game.
If you're being serious and you legit think that there are still a notable amount of people who think Ocarina of Time is the best game ever, you're wrong about that and all you've done is set up a straw man. The current consensus on this game is that it has aged a fair bit and it's no longer widely called the best game ever, but it's still a really fun and well-made game that was influential for its time.
Caddy, this kind of thing is a hell of a lot more accepted nowadays due to the change in the gaming community. Hardcore gamers do see some of the games that you can get for cheap prices or free for this platform, and are moving on to complain about pettier things, like games becoming more casual. But really, maybe this lack of understanding is due to a lack of understanding your audience. A good majority of your audience aren't all that hardcore, but are more casual players. They're more easygoing about changes like this and are more accepting of this opinion, along with the others you bring up in this video.
That's great and all, but the topic of the video isn't top 10 gaming opinions that are unpopular with my audience, is it? This is about gaming opinions that are unpopular in the general gaming community. What does his audience of roughly 500,000 people have anything to do with any of this?
Here's something to consider. Caddy's video had a mostly positive reception. His audience liked it and seemed to mostly agree with him. Now that you move the discussion to opinions that are unpopular with Caddy's audience, does that suddenly make the whole video invalid? It really doesn't matter what the audience agrees with. He's just giving out his opinion at the end of the day. Why does this matter?
Yeah, I said it. Number 5 is that I do not like Sonic the Hedgehog.
So does everyone else!
I actually...
Oh god, no, please, just spare me. I'm perfectly fine with my Cabot, thank you!
This kinda looks like a ripoff.
Suddenly black background. I'm not sure why you let this happen when you have a collection of transparent sprites in decent quality just in Celeste's sprite page on the Danganronpa wiki, but...
So I've experienced this before, and it turns out this is a glitch in your editing software. For those unaware, I edited Jackie's commentary on Blaze Movie Fan, and then all of a sudden, a black screen! Turns out the source of the problem was the original image I put in, and I fixed this issue myself by taking the original image in Firepacker, or Photoshop, but whatever works, and just made it transparent again. Then when I dropped the image on Vegas, it went back to normal. This is an easy fix. You have something like Firepacker or Photoshop. Personally, if you don't have either, I recommend Firepacker since it's free to download and the software is pretty simple to use. You're welcome!
But in all seriousness, when even Sega themselves don't like their mascot and actively put him on the back burner for other future games to publish, then I think it's pretty clear that not many people will disagree with you when you say that Sonic sucks.
Ooh boy! Speaking as someone who also doesn't care at all for Sonic the Hedgehog, assuming that nobody else likes him just because you don't, yeah, that's not at all myopic or condescending of you. It's true. Sonic is a cool thing to hate, especially in recent times given the impression that Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric made. But even then, there are still a lot of people who like him enough to sustain the franchise. The Sonic Boom cartoon is generally well liked, people still talk about Colors and Generations as high points of the franchise's recent history, and the announcements of Sonic Forces and Sonic Mania stirred up plenty of hype. Despite being a constant punchline, there is unmistakably an audience for Sonic the Hedgehog. When a franchise has been going for 25 years and is still producing content despite 2 landmark low points, it's probably a bad idea to assume no one likes it.
And the evidence you brought up for why Sega has put Sonic on the back burner recently? Ignoring that Sonic Boom Fire and Ice was released shortly before this video's upload, and ignoring that the Sonic Boom cartoon was a thing, it's not because they don't like him. Shelving Sonic permanently would be suicide. He's made more money for Sega than anything else they own. It's because of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric's negative reception that Sega wisely decided to keep Sonic games from being released for a time due to a negative public image of the franchise.
Sega also wants to distance itself from all the 11-year-olds making shitty Sonic OCs, but they can't say that for PR purposes. But you know it's true.
Who are you, and how do you know this?
I get it from my uncle who works at Sega.
Uh-huh. You wanna go tell your uncle who works at Sega I said go fuck himself?
Okay.
We're gonna be skipping his number 4 since really, we can't disagree with him on the PS Vita being better than 3DS. I mean, he also mentioned the whole thing with the GameCube being better than PS2, and while I really don't get why it had to be in there along with the PS Vita 3DS bit, it's not really got anything wrong with it, and he's even sold Scarlet on getting a Vita.
Thanks, Caddy! Now I'll never look at a 3DS the same way ever again! Oh, and we're also going to be skipping his number 3 too, since, well, I've played all the Bioshock games, and really, I'd hardly say he's wrong on that one, so... yeah...
So you skipped 2 segments because you agree with him. Okay. No room for possibility of him being wrong about something he talked about? Nothing? Sharing your opinions with him just gives him a pass now regardless? Okay then.
This one, well... we can't say that he's wrong in this opinion since really the most we'd be doing is just disagreeing, which is the point of this list, to present opinions that were unpopular and that you could disagree with. We literally cannot say that he's wrong here.
So, the question now is, why isn't this your number 1?
No,
Because Caddy, your number
no,
1
no,
is...
No! Hold up a goddamn minute. Nathan, let me have the floor. You played the entire fucking number 2 segment, and you won't even try debunking it. All because we would only be disagreeing with him, which is the point of this list. Well, shit! This excuse is just poor. You realize that the main reasons you skipped number 4 and number 3 were for the exact same reasons, right? The reasons you skipped number 3 and number 4 were that you couldn't disagree with him. Now you don't skip number 2 because you couldn't disagree with him? Quite redundant if you ask me. Even then, throughout this entire video, you've done nothing but try to debunk Caddy's points, as if he was wrong, which he definitely has been at some points, but now you want to go back on that and act like you shouldn't be doing a commentary in the first place? Also, Adam, while I'm on the topic of this, assuming that you agree with Scarlet that you disagree with Caddy, since that would be the point of his list, and ask why his number 2 isn't his number 1, then what exactly have you been doing the past 15 minutes? You know, since the entire point of his list is for you to disagree with him, why isn't every segment on this a contender for number 1? They hold the same reasoning, so why not? Now that we debunked that part, why did you keep the entire number 2 segment? If all you had to say was that you couldn't disagree, then wouldn't you have automatically skipped it along with number 4 and number 3? Since they follow the same flow that y'all couldn't disagree with Caddy? Not only that, but this is extra padding at its absolute worst. Way to go! You made me wonder what's the point of living. What the actual fuck, guys?
Disregarding that the point of living is anime titties, we're still contractually obligated to ride this out to the finish, so bring it on, guys. I am not afraid of you!
Yes, you are. The next thing you see is gonna scare you shitless and you go running off in the other direction.
That's what you think, but I—
Is this really even an argument anymore? Really, it's nothing but a preference, and preferences don't really make unpopular opinions.
Okay, maybe you had a point! I'm going to assume you read this without having once thought it through, so let me do that for you. Preferences are the basis of opinions. If Caddy prefers console gaming to PC gaming, and that preference happens to be unpopular, congratulations! It's an unpopular opinion!
Hell, you even mentioned that it's a preference, but you brand it as an unpopular opinion, so— I'm sorry, what?
The PC master race might as well be dead at this point. There are people who prefer PC, and there are people like you and I who prefer console. But at the end of the day, who cares?
Oh, I don't know, maybe the guy who wanted to make a video about his unpopular gaming opinions?
You go on to express how much you love getting up from the computer because it means you're done with working and feel more relaxed playing on a console. And that's fine. I'm with you, mate. That's the best feeling in the world. But why are you making such a big deal out of a preference?
This misses the entire point of the video. All he was doing was expressing what he perceives as unpopular opinions. That's what he wanted to do. You can argue that he went about it poorly, but a criticism of any given video should not be, why did you make this video?
For all we know, you were criticizing the everyone's gonna come at me with pitchforks for saying this aspect, which is definitely worth criticizing, but you not only addressed it long after you enlightened us with such genius as preferences don't make unpopular opinions, so that anyone watching may have forgotten what Caddy said by now, you worded it so vaguely that I just can't tell. Yeah, I'm stabbing at hypotheticals here, but my point here is why I'm doing that. This whole point of yours is vague and useless.
Well, I guess this is far from your worst video, and your humor is just as spot on as ever. There are multiple points where you sound like you have no idea what you're even talking about. And this whole attitude of, oh man, those are gonna get people so pissed, gets grating really fucking fast. There's also the fact that out of the 10 entries on this list, only 4 of them could really be considered unpopular.
Okay. And those are—
Since you didn't specify, let's go over which of the 10 opinions expressed here can be considered unpopular and see what you got wrong.
Dead Space 1 is the only great one. Contested, but not really unpopular.
Heavy Rain is awesome. This game now exists as a punchline, so this is unpopular.
I don't like Street Fighter. Street Fighter doesn't have a significant hateum, so unpopular.
I don't get the hype for Ocarina of Time. Even with the other Zelda games being more highly praised now, Ocarina of Time is still held in high regard, so we'll count this as unpopular.
Mobile gaming is fun. Pokemon Go exists, this is a popular opinion, moving on.
I don't like Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic's always cool to mock, so we'll say it's a popular opinion.
I prefer the PS Vita to the 3DS and the GameCube to the PS2. The first one is definitely unpopular, the second one a little less so. The GameCube has a much better reputation now than it did in its time, but the PS2 is still held up as one of the best consoles ever made, so we'll say this one's unpopular too.
BioShock Infinite isn't actually that great. Infinite is still regarded by most as a great game, so this is an unpopular opinion.
E.T. isn't that bad. Considering it's still mostly seen as one of the worst games ever made, yeah, this is unpopular.
And I prefer console gaming to PC gaming. Console games have a big enough fan base for this to be considered popular. So let's count them up. That's 6 unpopular opinions. Still not a lot, and it still says something about the legitimacy of Caddy's video, but it also says something about you not knowing what you're talking about.
I seriously never thought that I would be commentating on you, Caddy.
Same to you.
Your work is usually not this lackluster.
Oh, same to
You're
you.
better than this. I know you are. I'm
Same
not
to you.
mad. I'm just disappointed. While there are some opinions that I could disagree with, namely number 2 in particular.
Wait, what?
Then what the hell was that earlier? Your only response to his entire number 2, which you played the entirety of, need I remind you, was, "Oh my god, guys, we can't disagree," without even trying to actually argue with him? And now you're conveying to me that you were just being sarcastic? If you disagree with him there, then why didn't you argue the points he made?
At least we're finally done.
So, now that that's over, what now?
Well, you did just discover my summer home, and frankly, I don't let anyone else see it unless their name is Loudon Styles. So, this unfortunately is the part where I have to kill you.
Wait, what?
Hey, don't hold it against me, man. I just can't have anyone else finding out about my castle. What would the rest of the CC think?
No, I won't tell anyone. I promise.
Sorry, but I can't take that chance. Bye, Adam. It's been fun.
Oh. Autumn?
Yeah?
Take a seat. Guys, what was this? Scarlet, you sent out the invitation to Adam. You specifically asked him to come to this location to set up this commentary. And here at the end, you tell him, "Oops, you weren't actually supposed to be here despite me asking you to." You murdered the poor bastard and then the commentary just ends. In other words, you've completely betrayed your setup. Given this, we would assume this is the joke, and it actually could have been funny, but you play this completely seriously. Everything about this, the line delivery, the writing itself, gives away that you have no self-awareness as to how you contradicted your own setup. So, where's the joke? That thing that's kind of vital to intro and outro sketches for commentaries? Look, I know they aren't for everyone. To a lot of people that are seen as time wasters even, but at least the vast majority of commentary sketches in existence reasonably try to be entertaining and try to tell a joke. Badly, mind you, but the effort can still be identified. Here, it honestly feels like you missed the point from the very beginning. You have now written Scarlet.exe instead of sketches that are actually competent. Congratulations.
So you're the new starter. Man, people are going to expect big things from you. You know, you're probably going to be the most popular. Because, you know, the fire type is always the best. So yeah, I hope you the best of luck.
Dude, I'm that speed boost motherfucker, and I even know that's nowhere close to being the case. Especially in your generation. The grass type is an actual sweeper. Get back to punching Snorlax's scrub.
Oh yeah, just one more thing I wanted to tell you. If I find out you evolve into another fucking fire-fighting Pokemon, I will literally come and find you and put you in the PC box number 30, next to Magikarp.
I forfeited my ability to express more than one emotion when I sacrificed my soul to the Zionist cabal of Poketubers. It's because of this that I have to rely on voice modulation and bad keyframing to feign a remote existence of personality in my voice. Yeah!
Oh man, what acting school did you go to, Dobbs? I should switch my major and follow in your glorious footsteps.
So yeah, I'll see you later, man. And don't forget, you won't forget.
I originally saw this joke in a comic strip online, difference being it was Fennekin and Blaziken instead of Litten and Embor. So let me just go over every reason your joke is complete and utter trash. The first is the fact that the pattern of firefighting was already broken, which doesn't entirely ruin the joke on its own, and the leaked images would lead one to believe that Incineroar is fighting type since he's a pro wrestler, even though the leak shows evidence that he's a heel, which is why he's a dark type, you stupid idiot. But the reveal for the typing happened the same day your video came out, which chalk that up to bad timing, sure. But then there's the other half of the gag. So you're using Embor as the one to threaten Litten's originality. That just doesn't work. Embor's the reason the joke exists at all. Second, Blaziken did it originally because Blaziken is the one with a reason to be angry about it. And third, and this is the biggest problem, Embor fucking sucks! The only way this joke even comes close to working is by playing off the fact that both Embor and Incineroar are wrestlers. And even that's a fucking stretch since Embor's specifically a sumo wrestler. Not a professional wrestler, you stupid!
This doesn't make sense in a separate way either. Like, at the beginning, Embor says this.
So you're the new starter. Man, people are gonna expect big things from you.
But why would he be the one to say that since he's from, what, 4 games ago? Wouldn't it make more sense to have Delphox say this? Hell, you could probably make a more original play on that comic if you used her, since you could make it out as Delphox not wanting the Litten line to fuck up the series, moving away from having so many fire fighting starters, since Delphox is a fire psychic starter that broke this trend after Embor.
Such a short intro, I'm surprised with how slow that felt. Slow keyframing can work. I know, I've done it myself, but this makes it feel so sluggish that a shuffle could finish a mile before it's over.
What is going on, guys? This is Dobbs here, bringing you another Pokemon video.
I like how he almost has to dwell on that for a second.
Pokemon video.
It's like he had to stop to remember what video he was making. Yeah, we read the title, Socrates.
Do you think he got amnesia as he was recording his lines and had to try and keep up the illusion that he knows what he's talking about?
I don't fucking know.
And in this video, I'm going to show you the top 10 strongest starter Pokemon of all time. But there's a twist. This video will not only include the mainstream game starter Pokemon, but rather it will include all the starter Pokemon that we've seen throughout the anime, manga, and even other Pokemon games. And just a disclaimer, this is completely my opinion.
My opinion blocks me from all criticism.
Can I just start calling this the refined butthole fallacy? Oh, wait, crap, was I supposed to sing that?
Also, Pokemon such as Blaziken and Greninja won't be included in this list because the hidden abilities that make them so competitively powerful aren't obtainable as a starter Pokemon, only through an event.
Then just don't count the event versions. They don't have to be excluded entirely just because there's an entirely separate non-starter version of them that's more powerful.
If you're trying to say they aren't powerful enough to make the list without them, I call bullshit. Blaziken and Greninja are still OU caliber without those abilities being brought into the equation, which I'm sure you could debate not being true, but at the same time, Torchic is still a starter choice in Oris, where you get a Mega Stone for your starter on Route 120 from Steven.
Guess what ability Mega Blaziken always has?
Your argument is completely null and void. And of course, there's the fact that you're including the anime, which is stupid, but I can include Blaziken at the very least by way of the anime as well, namely May's Blaziken, who is a highly competent battler even if May rarely does straight-up battles. In fact, considering the fact that contests in the anime involve actually battling, and looking good doing it, mind you, then consider that Blaziken has to compete while maintaining a certain amount of flair, probably more Charlotte than Rick. Imagine if this Blaziken didn't need to be flashy.
By the way, I could totally bullshit Greninja on here since you used him in the Sun and Moon demo, pleb.
And these are the only two things for groundworks for what to expect. You could argue that it seems pretty self-explanatory for the rules and it doesn't need explaining. It can be inferred that only the very first Pokemon a trigger against counts and you seem to go by this for the rule on the list, but since this isn't even mentioned at all in the disclaimer, then it makes it even more bullcrap that the other starters like Greninja and Blaziken could very easily make the list. After all, they are starter Pokemon, and you pick starters from the games later. In fact, you can include a lot of different starters, like any of Ash's starter Pokemon he gets throughout the seasons.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and without further ado, let's get started. Starting off this list, we have Brox's Onix.
When I clicked on this video, I didn't expect the first entry to be Onix. I wouldn't have as much of a problem with this if you didn't advertise it the way that you did. Thumbnail as starter Pokemon from the games. Title doesn't indicate anything weird. You're led to expect that this is about what most people think starters are. Hey kids, welcome to How to Be So Confusing You Rack Up 1,000 dislikes on a video about fucking Pokemon.
Hey, you gotta be specific, Ski. Over 1,300 dislikes on a Pokemon video.
Brox's fucking...
Now, like we all know, Brox's Onix and later to be Steelix has always been one of his most powerful Pokemon. But you're probably asking yourself, why does his Onix deserve a spot on this list? Well, let's start from the beginning. Like all Pokemon trainers, Brock received his Onix from his father, Flint, when he turned 10 years old. It is said in the anime that Brock was a medic for the Pewter City Pokemon Center for a few years. So that would mean that he took over the gym when he was just around 13 years old. Now, let's put that in perspective. There are only 8 Pokemon gyms in the entire Kanto region, and only those who are powerful enough to determine if a trainer is worthy to face the Elite Four or not can lead them. So that would mean that Brox's Onix was powerful enough to help him become a Pokemon gym leader.
Yeah, the first one. The actual weakest one out of all of them.
Now I know what you're thinking. Brox's Onix was defeated by Ash's Pikachu in the anime and was a low level in the Pokemon games. Well, first of all, Ash only won that battle because he accidentally triggered the sprinklers in the Pokemon gym, which caused Onix to become very weak. And for the games, it is proven in the anime short Pokemon Origins that gym leaders scale their Pokemon to be an even match against their challenger. So for all we know, that Onyx we fought in the first generation games wasn't actually his starter.
Then that just creates an inconsistency then. You can't just start merging the anime and the games together when they follow two separate continuities. We have nothing to go off of that these are separate or the same Onyx. Leave the games out of it. This could just be to bring up that consistency, but it just bites you hard in the end.
Not to mention Origins is an anime, not the games. And it's not the same as the games, since Origins has mega dark bullshit Charizard, and the games didn't have that, on top of a bunch of other things.
But for the fact that Onyx was strong enough to give Brock enough authority to be a gym leader at only 13 years old, I chose Brock's Onyx for number 10.
Why is this surprising in a game where two 10-year-olds fight to be the strongest in the entire region?
Not like this is a rare thing either. Roxanne from Hoenn is young too, and she's also the first gym leader who was also rock type. Brock ain't a special snowflake.
No, that is a lie. Follow RockSnakeCircle12 on Tumblr, he is very special.
The story of Generations 1 through 4 also indicate that Gold and Silver takes place 3 years after Red and Blue. So, going off Ski's point about two 10-year-olds fighting to be the very best like no one ever was, one of those 10-year-olds, Blue, became a gym leader at least by the age of 13. And not the shitty first gym leader either. The fucking last one. And if you're gonna mix the games with the anime like that, then we have to do it here too. And on top of that, we've got Bugsy, Tate and Liza, Clement, all of whom are under the age of 16 and are gym leaders. So, if we knew their starters, would they be even higher on the list, since most of them actually stayed as gym leaders?
Coming at number 9, we have Skitty from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue.
Yeah, in one of the games, if you wanted an idea of the strongest in Mystery Dungeon, wouldn't it make more sense to get the strongest one overall in all the games?
This also doesn't even count as a starter Pokemon. Yeah, you start as a Pokemon, but it's not in the same vein as every other entry on the list. Starter Pokemon implies that the trainer was given the Pokemon. Considering that the player is the Pokemon in question, it makes it flimsy at best and completely wrong at worst. I'm going to have to get out my blender in order to get this to make any sense.
Now, if you ever watched a speedrun of this game, you would quickly notice that the speedrunner usually uses Skitty and Squirtle. And there's a good reason for that. According to Pokemon speedrunner Worcester, Skitty is definitely the best option when trying to figure out which starter to choose from. The reason that Skitty is so useful when playing the game is because it has the moves Tail Whip and Leer.
Squirtle also gets Tail Whip, and Pikachu, and Eevee, and Totodile gets Leer, and so does Cyndaquil.
And even if it's because Skitty has both of these moves and the others don't, the reason a speedrunner said that Skitty was a good choice for speedrunning is because you don't have time to rely on befriending other Mons in order to be able to progress. And going back to your previous entry, holy shit, at least you made the point that Brock's Onyx, not Brox's Onyx, you illiterate chucklefuck, achieved something that required it to be powerful. Skitty's just a utility choice, so why is it more powerful than Brock's Onyx?
These two moves are very important when battling bosses in the game. Also, Skitty's a normal type, so Double Slap gets Stab, which if you didn't know, means same type attack boost. So for example, if a water type Pokemon uses a water move, the damage gets boosted an extra 50%.
They all get stab moves that match their type, it's just that Skitty gets them earlier. But so does Eevee, and Meowth, and you get my point.
And this is a small nitpick, but same type attack bonus. Double check your information, you mop-haired overrated Pokatuber frick!
Also, Skitty has access to Attract.
All of them can learn Attract through TM though. Also, as an argument against Skitty, even if it does get stab early, it never gets a super effective boost from any of its base moves except for one, which is late game, which, need I remind you, has a bigger damage bonus than stab with double instead of just 1.5. You know who does get an early game move that can get a super effective bonus against certain types early on, along with stab moves, and can learn Tail Whip? Meowth. Not to mention there are tons of non-normal Mons in the roster that can learn moves that are both stab and can be super effective at the same time early on, and can learn Tail Whip or Leer as well.
Someone else said it was the best, so that means it obviously has to be the best for this list. Considering, you know, this is totally his own opinion.
Hey guys, welcome to my someone else's opinion list.
Which can completely immobilize a Pokemon when battling against them, or when trying to escape a tough situation. So with this great move pool, Squirtle goes hand in hand with Skitty, because he can collab very well with a set of moves he learns very early on, which can be very deadly.
Wait, very deadly? As in very strong? So wouldn't that make Squirtle stronger? Yeah, this isn't confusing at all.
If Skitty has to rely on another Pokemon to be the strongest, where does that leave Skitty?
So for those reasons, I chose Skitty for number 9. For number 8, I chose Squirtle.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
From Pokemon Red and Blue.
But what? Okay, so you hint at it being stronger than Skitty in Mystery Dungeon, which I also somewhat proved, and then you put it above Skitty, but from an entirely different game. Yeah, the problems with the way you structured this are really starting to creep in now. This is the main factor that kneecaps the entire list. How on earth can you quantify how something is stronger than another while having to pull from tons of separate and conflicting sources?
Not to mention, the information making it completely unfair to even judge these Pokemon. Also, why just the first evolution? It hasn't reared its ugly head completely yet. But why not talk about Blastoids or the line as a whole? Because yeah, a Squirtle can totally take on a fully evolved Nidoking or Persian. You end up just talking about Squirtle by itself, disregarding its evolutions. Probably not your intent, but it just shows more of your garbage writing.
That's right, Squirtle is actually the better starter from the original Pokemon games. Now I know what you're thinking. How in the heck is Squirtle better than Charmander? Because obviously Charmander is the better starter Pokemon from the original games. Well, although Charmander is the most popular Pokemon from the trio, he isn't the most convenient when playing the Pokemon Red and Blue games. And here's why. A program called Wolfram Alpha, which is an extremely smart calculator, recently obtained all the data for all the current Pokemon. A scientist named Kyle Hill decided to test the database and place the 3 stars against all the gym leaders' Pokemon. After a lot of math and equations, it was determined that Squirtle is scientifically the best choice when playing through the game, because Squirtle always came on top when it came to type and move advantage when facing the trainer's Pokemon. Pretty crazy, right?
Well, yeah, I guess if he's mathematically proven to be the best choice in that game, then that's a fair point. But I have a small question. Where's Kyle Hill's results? Surely you're not just gonna go, trust me guys is proof, right? Let me check the description. Hang on. Nope! Fucking Christ. When saying there's facts, it's a good idea to show the facts.
Oh, and by the way, this is the only thing he talks about. Yep, if I remember correctly, this was an opinion list. That doesn't mean you can't bring up facts, but that can't be the only thing you bring up and then move on. You don't actually bring anything of your own to the table here. You just say, here's some scientific research that someone else did, and then move on. This isn't Kyle Hill's list. This is your list. If you are going to claim this is absolutely objective science, by the way, why are so many entries that are much more subjective above it? Makes a lot of sense.
Coming at number 7, we have Totodile from Pokemon Gold and Silver. Now, out of all the starter Pokemon from the mainstream games, Totodile is among the few that can completely sweep every single Pokemon they come across. He's so strong, in fact, his early game is without a doubt the best out of all the starter Pokemon.
Gold and Silver are very easy games in general though. The only way you really have to worry about early games is if you choose Chikorita, and even then it's surprisingly a lot easier than, say, going against Brock while starting with Charmander or Pikachu. All you really need to counter Falkner is a decent rock type. Meanwhile, it's considerably more difficult to find a mon that can handle Brock well unless you have a Bulbasaur or Squirtle. So yeah, Totodile is more powerful because the game it comes from is easier. Absolutely perfect, flawless 7.8 out of 10.
He can easily go against higher leveled Pokemon without even breaking a sweat. Now you're probably asking yourself, what makes Totodile so powerful? Well, the move Rage is definitely a key factor on what makes Totodile insanely good. What this move does exactly is that it builds attack bonuses every time a Pokemon uses it consecutively. So basically, the more enraged the Pokemon is, the more damage the Pokemon will deal.
Yeah, but Rage starts off with 20 power and you have to keep using it every turn to utilize that damage increase. And since we are talking strictly Gen 2 here, Rage also no longer boosts your attack stat one stage every turn like it used to in Gen 1. Bite and Slash are much better for it in general because of their higher base damage and you don't have to feel locked into the move at all. Plus, Bite has a chance of flinching and Slash has a chance for a critical hit. And you know, if you let that poor Totodile evolve, it'll have a much greater attack stat.
Not that anything Brooke just said matters, because Rage does not even work that way! Rage builds when you are hit, not when you use it. If you can't do enough research to know how the move you're saying is part of what makes your choice good even fucking works, then how am I supposed to take your opinion seriously?
Hey! I spent 5 whole minutes on Bulbapedia to get that information.
With this move, it makes it easy going against strong gym leaders in the early game. Yes, even Whitney with that overpowered Miltank.
Or you could just grind through Sprout Tower with Cyndaquil, which can basically one-shot any Bellsprout, and by the end of it you can just mow down the gym. And you don't even have to worry about forcing yourself to be hit to build up Rage. This is before we even get into the fact that Totodile is predominant in attack, which is sort of a problem when literally every stab move it gets is special in Gold and Silver. Meanwhile, Cyndaquil is predominant in special attacks, so it doesn't have this problem.
And Miltank is a defensive Pokemon. Oops! Good luck trying to hit that physical wall with a physical attack. Let me know how well that works out for you. Oh, and Chikorita would know Poison Powder and Reflect at that point. And Reflect halves all physical damage. And also Cyndaquil can burn, which also lowers physical damage. Totodile is literally the worst starter to go against and fight Whitney.
Another key factor that makes Totodile very useful is his move pool. Totodile gets a powerful Stab Surf, Earthquake, and Strength to abuse his high attack.
Yeah, but it doesn't learn it through level up. You have to spend your precious TMs on it if you want to learn any powerful moves. Check again at that special attack stat on Totodile. It would not be nearly as effective as, say, Aqua Tail, that it learns in later generations by level up. Sure, its special attack stat does get better as it evolves, but it's outclassed by its attack stat. My Empoleon would like to have a word with you.
He thinks surface physical. How adorable.
The fuck did I say about knowing how moves work?
Along with that, his Ice Punch is very useful when going against your rivals Bayleaf and Lance's Dragonite.
Even though Typhlosion specials are more effective. Oh yeah, Ice Punch was special in Gen 2. Yeah, it is dumb.
Oh, so you are talking about the line as a whole. Then why don't you just clean off that windshield? It's very dangerous to drive around with it being dirty like that. I can only let Jesus take the wheel so many times, Dobbs.
Just overall, he's a very powerful Pokemon. The reason why Cyndaquil and Chikorita aren't really viable is because Cyndaquil has very low defense and has an inferior move pool. Chikorita, on the other hand, doesn't really have a lot of type coverage, and her weakness really cripples her against the first couple gyms.
What did Hunter say earlier? These games are easier and Chikorita isn't completely screwed like everyone seems to think it is. And Cyndaquil's move pool? You're one to talk. Totodile's level up move pool is very small by itself, and if you want it to be good, you have to use TMs on it. Cyndaquil gets Flamethrower leveling up, which plays with its special attack stat much better than Totodile's stab moves it learns. Even if Hydro Pump is a powerful move, it still doesn't play to Totodile's strengths. Going to TMs Cyndaquil can learn, you get things like Earthquake, Thunder Punch, Hyper Beam, and Fire Blast. It gets good TMs too.
Coming at number 6, we have Mudkip for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire.
So, I guess the real reason you don't put Blaziken on your list, even though the Oris version meets your criteria, is because you've got a giant water erection then. Good to know.
Now, Mudkip and later to be Swampert is a very handy Pokemon to have. Only being weak to Grass-type moves, Swampert's high attack and move pool makes him a very powerful Pokemon. No gym leader from the Hoenn region will have the type advantage when going against Swampert.
What about moves? Swampert doesn't exactly have the deepest level up move pool, which is pretty important when you don't have all the TMs, or like was the case with the original Ruby and Sapphire, since that's the only one that counts apparently, don't get to use them an unlimited number of times. So you've really only got normal, ground, and water, and the water moves use special, not physical. While the Swampert's special stat is respectable, it's not exactly optimal. In addition, there's different forms of type advantage that you're in no way calculating. First of all, there's Winona. Even if you've got Earthquake on your Swampert by the time you face her, it's going to be completely pointless. So you have to rely on non-stab weaker moves or your stab moves that use your weaker stab. Solrock has Solar Beam, which is a move that has type advantage over Swampert. Wallace resists water. You want me to go deeper into this? Didn't think so. I think my point's been made.
Thank goodness, we have enough BoonSlayer rants in this column already.
I mean, heck, even one of them can't even lay a finger on Swampert because it's immune to electric-type moves. On top of that, Swampert's Stab Earthquake is a force not to be reckoned with. Even though Swampert has kind of a low speed stat.
Kind of a low speed stat? Emboar is faster than it! Punch Snorlax's Scrub Lord!
For number 5, I chose Ash's Pikachu from the Pokemon anime. Now what's a top 10 starter list without Ash's notorious overpowered Pikachu? I mean, this non-fully evolved Pokemon has taken out some of the strongest Pokemon we've ever seen in the anime. From the start, we knew how special this Pikachu was, because somehow this tiny mouse managed to take down a freaking Onix with Thunderbolt. Which is kind of ridiculous because Onix is supposed to be immune to electric type moves. But whatever, anime logic.
Hey, maybe if you acknowledge that something in the anime makes absolutely no sense, you shouldn't use it as a factor as to why something is stronger.
Maybe if you put more thought and care into putting your lists together, maybe we wouldn't have to call you out on your bullcrap. Pikachu is the most inconsistent part of the anime which you acknowledge, yet no bells ring in your head that maybe this wasn't a great pick. The anime is so unreliable.
But anyways, not only that, in the early stages of the anime when Pikachu was still relatively a low level Pokemon, he was able to defeat a Dragonite in the Orange Archipelago League. A Dragonite, a pseudo-Pokemon that is used by champions.
Pseudo-legendary isn't a real term.
You're expecting too much from him, Hunter. Do you really think he'd look over his script more than once?
Who needs revision when we have Smogon bullshit?
What's a pseudo-Pokemon? Is that like what the Ultra Beasts are? Is Dragonite secretly a pseudo-Woodo?
Not to mention that the lowest level a Dragonite could be is 55. Which is pretty crazy.
Funny thing about that, in Gold and Silver Lance has 3 Dragonites that are all under level 55. Whoops.
I mean, there's a reason why Team Rocket wants to steal this particular Pikachu. It has something special that no other Pikachu has, and that is it is overpowered.
When it's convenient. Oh, but we'll get to that.
For number 4, we have Flint's Chimchar. Now this is Flint's only known Pokemon, but I wouldn't be surprised if he even needs another Pokemon, because this Infernape is extremely powerful. This powerhouse of a Pokemon was able to take down Ash's 2 strongest Pokemon with ease. Ash's Pokemon being his Infernape and Pikachu.
So it's strong because it beat Ash's Pikachu. So in that case, I'm guessing Snivy is the next entry, right? Yeah, I don't watch or care about the anime, but from what little I know and have looked up, Ash's Pikachu lost to a Snivy, at which point it had beaten Darkrai before. How strong it is seems to fluctuate depending on how convenient it is for the writing team. This is the problem with using the anime as a source.
Never mind the fact that Ash's Infernape has much less experience than Flint's. And as you pointed out yourself in this very video, Pikachu gets resetted, your writing is for dogs, every time he goes to a new region. It's still a goddamn Pikachu! And guess what? Pikachu loses all the fucking time!
The history behind why this Infernape is so powerful lies when Flint was just a kid. Back when Flint and Chimchar were young, they lived in a city that was full of criminals. In order to even survive in this rough environment, they had to become strong so they could defend themselves when in trouble. Going a little further ahead, against all odds, Flint was able to win the Sinnoh League with just his Monferno. His Monferno didn't even evolve until later when he became Elite Four member. But being able to do all of this with just his Infernape is literally insane. Type disadvantage doesn't even matter to this Pokemon.
Anime logic, am I right? Seriously, your joke about how Pikachu beating on us is lol anime logic applies to Infernape not caring about type disadvantage too. So, you dismiss it when it proves you wrong, but you use it when it proves you right? Pfft. Dobbs logic, am I right?
Coming at number 3, we have Alan's Charmander.
Let's just ignore that you claim to have scientifically proven that Squirtle is better. Charmander is above it twice because anime. Oh yeah, Charmander is on this list twice. Another writing tip, being redundant is generally a bad idea.
Now you probably thought Ash's Charizard was powerful, but just wait until you hear what kind of beast Alan's Charizard is. Going back to how Alan even obtained his Charmander, it all started when he was Professor Sycamore's assistant. To understand more about what the Megastones were, Alan was given a Charmander to aid him on his journey to research. Throughout the years, this Charizard has fought against some of the strongest Pokemon, ranging from champions to legendary Pokemon.
Couldn't you say that about any of the starters from the games though? In any of the games, you pick your starter and much later in the game, you fight champions and legendaries, presumably with said starter. So why is this instance special exactly?
The first battle we even witnessed this monstrous Charizard was when Alan was challenged by Astrid and her Mega Absol. Of course, Alan's Charizard defeated the Absol with ease, but that's just the beginning. This Charizard has gone against Cybold's Mega Blastoise, who is in fact an Elite Four member. He wasn't able to defeat the Blastoise, but he held in long enough for it to be a very impressive feat. Alan's Charizard has also faced against Steven's Mega Metagross, which I would only assume to be the most powerful owned Pokemon in the entire Hoenn region.
So of all 3 of the Hoenn starters in the games. Yeah, you get my point.
Honestly, this Charizard probably has the best track record of any Pokemon I've ever seen. I mean, all the Pokemon you see on the screen right now has fought against this Charizard, which is pretty insane.
But you could... forget it.
Without a doubt, Alan's Charizard is among the strongest Pokemon we've seen throughout the anime. So for those reasons, I chose Alan's Charmander for number 3 on this list.
And how many of those fights were complete anime bullcrap? Because I don't know about you, in the games, Blastoise and Mega Rayquaza would have a serious advantage.
But Brooke, don't you see? You can dismiss that because anime logic!
You're right. Anime logic is the only one we should be following. Can I use JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Naruto is best starter Pokemon confirmed!
But what about Bible Black?
For number 2, I chose Red's Poliwag from the Pokemon Adventures manga.
When you're compiling lists like this and you end up having radically different sources for these picks, it ends up being apples to oranges to door hangers. You take from the manga, anime, the main games, and Mystery Dungeon. When these things don't connect at all besides, you know, Pokemon, how would that make it fair at all? You have an OP plot armor / nerfing with the anime, Mystery Dungeon which shouldn't even be here, the main games which are only the ones that make sense to accurately compare, and the manga. That really makes it hard to find a scale for it.
I was gonna say this in my final thoughts, but good God, I have gone on too many tangents in this one, so fuck it. This should have been multiple different top 10s about multiple different media. Mystery Dungeon would have been fine to include in the list about games, probably as a number 10 entry in mind, and a list about the manga and anime would have been able to be more consistent. But you're mixing entirely different forms of media, one of which is required to balance characters against each other, and one of which isn't. That's like me saying that Jace Beleren is the second most overpowered Planeswalker because Jace the Mind Sculptor is a completely fair card, and Soren is the most overpowered because he made the Hell Vault. Those two criteria have no correlation with one another, so I'm comparing apples to curtains that have pictures of apples on them.
Chandra's the best planeswalker. Get real, Boon. I mean, she sets things on fire.
Chandra's my favorite planeswalker that's also a professional wrestler.
Now, it's a common misconception that Red's first Pokemon from the manga was a Bulbasaur.
Okay, I don't mean to be a complete spurglord here, but it's not how you pronounce manga, you fucking...
Yeah, it's pronounced Mago, you wannabe weeaboo.
Although Bulbasaur was technically his starter Pokemon he received from Professor Oak, Bulbasaur wasn't actually his first Pokemon. The history behind Polly, which is what Red named him, started with a near-death experience. The hero we all know and love would have died if it weren't for this Poliwag. How the story goes, Red began to drown while swimming in a pond. Polly as a small Poliwag couldn't do anything but watch his poor kid suffer. Due to being unable to save Red in his current state, Polly evolved into a Poliwhirl in order to save him, which is a pretty awesome backstory for Red's first Pokemon. Now Polly is surprisingly one of Red's weakest permanent party members in his lineup.
So you mean to tell me that one of the weakest members of a manga character's team, who doesn't get nearly as much plot immunity as characters in the anime do, mind you, is better than the strongest member of the main character of the anime's team? No, please, let's hear what he's accomplished.
He is 9 levels under Red's strongest Pokemon, which is in fact his Snorlax. From the start, this Poliwhirl was a very strong Pokemon. During Red's first gym, Polly one-shotted everything that he went up against despite being at low health. But that's kind of obvious, because Brock's gym is full of Rock-type Pokemon, so Polly of course had the upper hand. But, in the Danger High Voltorb chapter, Polly goes up against Lieutenant Surge Electabuzz and Magneton. In a close fight, Polly evolves into a Poliwrath and finishes off Lieutenant Surge Electabuzz with a seismic toss with ease.
So your evidence is basically a Deus Ex Machina where the writers suddenly decided that you can evolve mid-battle because plot. This is why I don't care about the anime or manga. Everything I hear about is just ass pulls.
Not only that, Polly helped Red win the Pokemon League with his genius idea to enhance the water vapor in the air so that Red's Pikachu could defeat the opponent with a thundercloud.
Oh, so that's what he achieved. Anime bullshit evolution mid-battle and coming up with an idea which doesn't even make him actually strong. Type effectiveness factors in even less in the manga than it does in the anime. Like, holy shit. Pikachu can surf on lava in the manga! I'm pretty sure we're past the threshold of anything making goddamn sense!
And for the strongest starter Pokemon, in my opinion, is Red's Charmander from Pokemon Origins.
God, is this guy a Gen 1er or something?
2 Charmanders? This is the most cop-outy cop-out ever! And they are both from versions of the anime! What the frick?! No, I've come to terms with this. No logic will ever come from this countdown. Everything will be just fine.
So let me get this straight. The reason for not including Blaziken can't be because you're only picking the most powerful version of the Pokemon, since there are 2 Charmanders. It can't be that you have a 1 per piece of media rule because you've got a fuck ton of anime entries. The only thing it really could have been is that remakes don't count, even though, you know, you're using an anime that's a more direct recreation of the games. If putting Blaziken and Greninja on the list were too easy, then just fucking say so!
He should really get a translator for that lack of communication skill he seems to have.
Now this was a very tough decision between the top 3 because they're all very strong Pokemon.
You know, except for that one you said was the weakest outside of 2 ass-pull moments, but whatever.
By the way, Mega Evolution is based on the bond with the trainer, not how powerful the Pokemon is, so how does being the first to Mega Evolve make him stronger than anyone else again?
What? Who just hacked my video?
Ron Jeremy, is that you? Wow, you do sure look lighter. And younger.
I heard they got some serious drugs for that.
Well then, question, do you consider going from porn to countdowns an upgrade or a downgrade? Because honestly, I would consider it a very big downgrade. With all those... Seriously, this is a rather poorly placed intro. If you're going to have your co-op partner enter the video via hacking, then at least make it somewhat noticeable that it's happening in the first place. You barely show any visual effects to show that you're being hacked. And to top it off, this is 1 second in the video. Meaning it just starts off with you yelling about a thing before anything else is even being presented. And the way he plays it off just comes off as extremely awkward, to put it lightly.
Remember me, Arrow Dragon?
Wolf, that gag has been done to death. It's not funny anymore.
You know pointing out an issue doesn't make it go away, right? Also, come on, Arrow Dragon, try to give us an emotion that looks like you give a crap. Sure, Golden Wolf's acting sucks too, but at least he's trying to be expressive.
Aww.
Holy crap, it gets over anyway.
I'll be joining you for this countdown.
Wait, what?
Sweet! So, what topic did you have in mind?
Top 10 reasons this video shouldn't have been made, and ways Aerodragon can get good at editing. Seriously, the jumps between you and Golden Wolf in those few seconds were edited in such a sloppy manner that it hurt.
Top 15 most hated video game characters.
Dope.
No.
Characters are an integral part of video games, and there are quite a few standouts. Whether it's for their satisfying gameplay, likable personalities, strong development, great boss fights, or all of the above, there are a lot of ways to make a character stand out.
But sometimes, the character in question stands out for all the wrong reasons. You know the ones. Those characters that are annoying, cruel, self-centered, traitorous, monstrous, or whatever else. Even some of the greatest games of all time aren't immune to having characters that we just want to rip their face off and drown them in the pool of ether.
There are a metric truckload of characters like this in video games, unintentional or no. So Aerodragon and I are teaming up to bring you the 15 video game characters we despise the most. Now remember that we're only listing off one character per franchise, and only characters from games that at least one of us has played, which means Jasper Bat Jr. from No More Heroes 2 can consider himself lucky.
Holy crap, why does every negative list after Tarks have to mention Jasper Bat Jr. in some way? Seriously, are there no other bad bosses we can mention? None.
Because originality in the Countdown community is about as likely as finding a needle in a haystack.
Also, what do you mean by consider yourself lucky? What, do you think that a fictional character is gonna get pissy over two weebs on the internet putting him on a hated characters list?
Also, keep in mind when talking about some of these characters, we will likely spoil important plot points for various games, so you have been warned.
Okay, can I take a page from Mr. Raven King Sage on this one? But instead of putting your spoiler warning in the intro segment, and only in the intro segment, you put the spoil warnings at the spoiler. Therefore, your video has less of a chance of being a spoiler minefield, especially when it's such a general list like this. You risk someone being spoiled with the blame being on you instead of them. So either put a spoiler warning before the segment or before the part of the segment that has the spoiler. Overall, you need to get good, you faggots.
Also, we'll personally put up a disclaimer whenever a spoiler might arise. You're welcome.
And with all that being said, I'm Aerodragon.
And I'm the Golden Wolf.
And I'm Hitler. Surrender or die.
And these are our top 15 most hated video game characters.
Let the rage begin!
Holy crap, if you're gonna both say something at the same time, make sure it's actually synced out decently or else it just sounds stupid.
I know, right?
Now, we're gonna cut on their transitions clips because not only are they really not important to the video, they also include a spoiler for Castlevania about proper warning. Congratulations, guys. You get a gold fucking star for that one, you geniuses of the Countdown community.
One word comes to mind when we think of Tingle. Annoying.
Really? I mean, compared to other Zelda characters, he's not that bad. Navi, Fi, Kebora Gabora, Nakamura from Link's Awakening.
Tingle is an obnoxious 35-year-old man who—
Wait a sec. You clearly pointed out that there are characters worse than Tingle, but you still put him on the list without even mentioning what Aerodragon brought up for the rest of the segment? Like, I checked the whole thing. I didn't see a single part where they tried to debunk the claim made by themselves.
You know, shit like this, honestly, is pretty pathetic and laughable in all honesty. I mean, to quote our Lord and Savior, MDXLR.
Wow. Has this weird obsession with forest fairies, even going so far as to dress up in a really stupid-looking outfit that he believes will attract fairies to him. He first appeared in Majora's Mask selling really overpriced maps to Link, but it's his Wind Waker incarnation that's most infamous.
Anyone who's played Wind Waker knows exactly what we're talking about. One of the most tedious quests in Legend of Zelda history involves you going around and collecting all the Triforce charts, which are mandatory to be in the game. However, you can't use them until they're deciphered. You know who can decipher them? Tingle. And he charges you nearly 400 rupees for every Triforce chart he deciphers. Never mind that you already had to pay him over 200 rupees to get the C chart that tells you the locations of the Triforce charts, you end up paying him over 3,000 rupees by the time you're done.
What? Crucial items in a Zelda game are expensive? What is this? Next you told me an RPG gains difficulty as you progress through the game. Oh, and before you say,
oh, but grinding rupees are tedious.
I get that. If there weren't multiple areas and minigames in a game where you can easily stock up on rupees to worth 3,000 rupees, doesn't seem so much. Not only that, but this was also partially to encourage the use of the GBA link cable, since one of the rupee methods involved you hooking up the GBA and you get a total of 500 just from that. Now I know you probably look at that and say, ooh, but that just makes it worse. Sure, one could argue that this is a pretty money-grabbing tactic of Nintendo that still translates back to Tingle. Overall, the issue here is that you're angry at a crucial character in the game for selling you crucial items needed to beat the game, which is dumb. Well, that and you bring up the tedious quest to find the charts, which is arguably the only real thing you have. Even then, one could argue that the quest doesn't entirely reflect on the character specifically, it just reflects badly on the game. Just because Tingle sent you on the quest doesn't mean the quality of the quest affects him.
Also, why is he everywhere? It seems like for a character that a lot of people hate, Nintendo seems to love reminding us that he exists.
Keep that thought in mind. It'll come back later.
He's had multiple spin-off games devoted to him. He's one of the most annoying assist trophies and tour items in Smash Bros.
For reasons they refuse to go into any detail for.
The DLC characters for Hyrule Warriors. Of all the characters they could have put in, Skull Kid, Tetra, Yugo, Ravio, who do we get? This guy.
Wait, they didn't put who I wanted. It's a character you don't have to pay for. Move on, please.
To be fair, he's a pretty popular character in Japan.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know?
It's later. Shooting yourself once again, you go on about how apparently a lot of people hate Tingle, how much of a slap it was that he got into Hyrule Warriors, and y'all also trash the spin-offs. Just to give a very reason why it's like that. I mean, how dare Nintendo give things to a group of people who aren't you, who happen to like Tingle? It's almost like they're a company who do business decisions based off what'll make them money. That'd be silly. Oh, and those spin-offs you went on about, not a single one made it to America. Heck, only one of them made it to Europe. I also love Golden Wolf's trying way too hard to twitch his eyes like, guys, I'm really angry, I swear.
No, I didn't.
Them shorts, though.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
Hey, wait, where are you going?
To the next entry!
The pacing on that could have been done so much better, you know that, right? It would have been a lot funnier if he got up, Aero Dragon asked where he was going, then Golden Wolf said the next segment, finally with him slamming the door or something. On its own, just seems rather oddly paced, and once again comes down to Aero Dragon's poor writing and editing.
Say, Aero Dragon, did you happen to work on Fantastic by any chance?
That would explain why the team have horrible interactions with one another, in all honesty.
Super Paper Mario is probably the most divisive game in the series for a multitude of reasons. Chief among these is that change of styles, what with it being a platformer and not an RPG, the general lack of side quests, and your partners being replaced by featureless characters called pixels.
Actually, Arrow scratched that last one. One pixel in particular, Tippy, is a great character. She's used consistently throughout the game. Her advice is actually helpful, Fi!
You know, while we're bashing Fi out of nowhere, I had to ask, since you have such anger towards Fi, why wasn't she on the list and not Tingle? Aero Dragon brought up she was worse than Tingle, and you, Golden Wolf, had done nothing to argue that. In fact, with this very statement, you kinda make it worse.
Yeah, that's like an ice cream guy just tried to sell vanilla as better than chocolate, despite admitting chocolate is better. And then he blows up to represent what I want to do to Aero Dragon, as he is Satan reincarnated and should burn in hell with all that he's made suffer.
And she goes through a lot of character development. So we get to the third world in search of the fourth pure heart, and oops, Tippy just got snatched by a technology-obsessed chameleon with a camera. Why do I think I don't like where this is going?
Francis here only appears for a short portion of the game, but even in that small amount of screen time, he manages to be a total pain in the neck. The factor without Tippy for literally the entire chapter is bad enough, but it's even worse when you consider that her capture is a poorly done interpretation of the stereotypical techies and nerds.
Oh boy, they're actually going there.
Take one look at his eyesore of a design or his fortress and you'll see what we're talking about. He wears flashy and nerdy shirts, he has an army of cat robots roaming his fortress, said cats also reveal Francis's stereotypically nerdy opinions, his walls are lined with posters and merchandise, and he has 3 private rooms that only he and 2
totally hot babes are allowed to enter.
His personality is even worse than his design. After stealing Tippy, he proceeds to rush home and watch more anime. He takes pictures of Tippy to post them to a forum, even going so far as to rename her. He has an annoying habit of saying high technical and sweet. His obvious lack of social skills is made clear when he has to boot up a dating sim just to converse with Peach. He's a complete idiot, and he even admits to having no offline friends. Gee, I can't imagine why.
I swear, this segment alone completely ticks me off. The way you worded most of your points makes it seem like Nintendo outright went out of their way to make fun of nerdy people. If that's really the case, then answer me this. Why would Nintendo intentionally generalize most of their target audience and demographic with any type of negative or malicious intent? If anything, it's more of a playful parody of otakus. It's a freaking joke and you're doing nothing but taking it more personally than you should. You don't even have to find it funny, just acknowledge it's a joke.
Besides, this is what a true nerd looks like.
Why would you show that?
Because I love to troll you guys.
Tingle and Francis may be annoying characters that thrive on being creepy extortionists, but that's really all they are. And as annoying as they were, Tingle was kind of necessary to beat Wind Waker.
So, you understand why they did what they did in Wind Waker, yet you included it as a reason against him anyways. Am I dead yet?
By the way, the next segment contains spoilers for Generation 5 of Pokemon. If you want to skip that, then feel free to click here. You're welcome again.
And Francis had a pretty fun boss fight. At least, I thought so.
The other 13 characters step out of annoying territory and into hated territory. And on that note, we come to the Pokemon series. There are a lot of characters in the series that would fit the bill, like Cyrus, Fantina.
I never hear any negativity towards Fantina. Could you please not just say names and expect people to know what you're getting at?
Anyway, number 13 goes to the true villain of Pokemon Black and White, Ghetsis.
Okay, note that we don't hate Ghetsis because of his villain stats. In fact, he actually does his job as a villain very well, what with him manipulating the hearts of trainers so that they'll release their Pokemon. The problems, however, start appearing at N's castle, and they build up fast.
After you beat N in an awesome showdown using the legendary dragons of Unova, Ghetsis barges in just to beat up on N, his own son, for losing to an ordinary trainer, calling him, and I quote, a warped, defective boy who knows nothing but Pokemon. He then proceeds to reveal his true plan, which is to use N and all the Pokemon Team Plasma stole in order to...
Oh, I know! To be the best like no one ever was?
Take over the world.
Ah, of course. Wait, I didn't...
Of course! Shut up, Bison!
Pointing out that your reference is dated as crap doesn't make it any better.
Congratulations, Game Freak! You ruined a great story and villain by giving him the most generic evil motivations in history.
So you mentioned that as a character he is a good villain because he does his job as a villain well, but apparently him having a cliché motive where it's not just a character but the entire story. When that's not how it works. First of all, it's usually a common motive because most villains want power. It's a normal trait of evil, and that is not automatically a bad thing. Once again, you brought up that to this point, he was an interesting villain with how he played things out, and a cliché motive shouldn't affect that in the slightest, unless the motive had nothing to do with the previous actions, which his motive did. Oh, and about the whole yelling at N thing you brought up earlier, whenever you bring that up, you act like that goes against the character, which also doesn't work because he'd go on about how he's a good villain because he did his evil deeds well, and last I checked, yelling at your son in the manner he did would be considered an evil deed, along with the fact that he doesn't consider him a son to begin with just to get what he wanted. Wouldn't that contribute to him being a good villain? Unless there was some reason it didn't, but he didn't bring up anything, so I'm honestly quite confused.
Also, the hating on Ghetsis thing has become such a cliche in the Countdown community, and I gotta get this off my chest. Hate bad characters for being badly written. Not because they're cruel or evil.
But it's the Countdown community, and if you're not a sympathetic villain, then you're the worst.
Also, the battle you have with him can be quite frustrating. Now, just because a boss is hard, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but Ghetsis cheats by having a level 54 Hydreigon, 10 whole levels before it's supposed to evolve.
If Hydreigon was at its normal level, it'd be way overpowered for that point in the game. Level 54 may be cheating, but would it really be better if a normally powerful Pokemon was 10 levels over your last opponent? Except, he is the final boss of the main game, and Alder can only be fought in post-game. He's allowed to be a challenge, especially since N's battle was pretty fair and challenging, And this is the leader of Team Plasma.
Even then, this comes off as nothing but a nitpick, honestly, because sure, it's a stronger Pokemon, but as previously stated, it's not like it's that high in levels compared to you, so it doesn't matter too much anyways. Besides, little known fact, most main villains are supposed to be difficult.
Oh, and it has Surf too.
The rest of his team can also be annoying to deal with, especially his Electros, which had huge type coverage and no weaknesses. And in the sequel, after trying to freeze the player solid, he forces Kyurem to fuse with one of the legendary dragons, the hybrid of which you aren't even allowed to capture because of a device in his cane that blocks your Pokeballs!
And after that, Ghetsis fights you again, and while it isn't quite as bad as the original battle, he still keeps his Electros and broken Hydreigon around.
Hydreigon in Black and White 2 is honestly not broken. Underleveled when compared to when it's supposed to evolve? Yes. Broken? Not really. Seeing as this time all of Hydreigon's moves are physical, which anyone who knows Hydreigon will tell you it's the weaker attack set.
So, all in all, Ghetsis is a horrible father who's only out for himself, steals the spotlight from an amazing antagonist, and is a frustrating boss to fight.
So what you're saying is, minus the fight, he's a villain. Again, something you praised him for in the beginning of the segment. Do you see why this bothers me so much?
Traits which we will see plenty more of as we continue down the list.
Wait, so you do put spoiler warnings before segments? Then why didn't you put the same warning for Pokemon Black and White, aka one of the more story-driven main series Pokemon games consistency?
You don't understand the hidden messages, alternate themes, subliminal messages, the twits, the fact that we're all actually communists in disguise, escape from the Matrix so that one day we may live in the American dream. Am I right, my fellow Americans?
Gonna be skipping number 12 because really it's just the same issue with Ghetsis but worse. They're getting onto an antagonist for not being a morally correct human being. It's even made worse in this regard because, like Ghetsis, he does his job well as an antagonist. Well, I say this because they don't bring up anything involving how he's written, only what he's done, which is bad stuff, which is the point. On top of that, the antagonist of this game has a less cliche motive when compared to Ghetsis, because at least in this character's case, it has good intentions, just awful execution. A very warped mindset, kinda like an interesting antagonist. Gee, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you guys really don't understand how this stuff works.
Arrow, you have that look of disgust on your face. Who is it this time?
Arietta.
Oh boy. Think of Arietta from Tales of the Abyss like Annis, only worse.
Okay, follow-up question. Who the fuck is Ganos? Or Anos? I couldn't tell Golden Wolf's voice because it was drowned out by the epic rock music. So I couldn't tell. Is that a different Tales character? Are they from a different game entirely? Help me, Mommy, I'm lost. I can't figure my way out from this scary Golden Wolf guy.
Both of them are Phone Master Guardians, and both share similar moves, and they are bitter rivals throughout the game.
What are you even talking about? I've watched this part like 4 or 5 times, and I can't follow along for crap. Again, I have no idea who you're comparing this character to, so without context, I'm rather confused.
However, upon closer inspection, it is clear which of the two is superior.
Arietta is one of the 6 god generals working for the main antagonist, Bang Prince, and her character is this weird, unsavory mix of fragile flower trope and bratty teenage girl stereotype. She has a naive and timid demeanor, but gets emotional whenever Annis or Ion is involved. Her emotions always get in the way of her priorities, and she always acts on sentimentality rather than reason.
2 examples in particular spring to mind. One is after you defeat the Liger Queen that raised Arietta as a child, she gets emotionally unstable and is easily persuaded by Ash to get revenge on the party, going so far as to attack a nearby fort and take the chief engineer hostage before fighting you in Coral Castle.
The other example is at Mount Alejo, after Phone Master Ion's death, where Arietta personally blames Annis for letting Ion read the 7th Phone Stone, and challenges her and the party to a duel to the death. Speaking of which, Arietta has one of the most annoying boss fights in Tales of the Abyss. She's accompanied by a Liger and a Reisbilder, her Eisbilgiger, Reisbilder. How do you even say that?
Dear game developers, don't use words people don't know how to pronounce.
Anyway, Arietta can powerful dark elemental arts like Negative Gate and Bloody War, and cast support arts like Barrier and Sharpness to buff her monsters, on top of having access to 2 Mystic Arts!
And whatever you do, don't let her use any water or fire Phonon fields. She'll either use Aqua Protection or Blaze Emitter to permanently increase her stats, or use Crimson Riot or Maelstrom to do high amounts of damage to a single or multiple party members. If you don't know what you're doing, you're in for a wild ride.
So basically what I'm hearing is correct. Sounds like you need to get good. I make this point because you give no legit reason it's quote-unquote annoying. The most you actually say is that it's difficult, which as mentioned before is usually a common staple for boss fights against major characters. So basically get good.
It seems like whenever Fire Emblem is brought up these days, especially in the Countdown community, the conversation almost always shifts towards either the upcoming new 3DS exclusive or Fire Emblem Awakening. And for good reason. Awakening proved on almost everything a lot of us hated about the earlier games, from the frustrating gameplay to the less than stellar characters.
However, this is a hated characters list, which means we have to find someone to pick on, and it's not from Awakening. Our candidate for this list actually comes from the very first Fire Emblem game to be released in North America, sometimes referred to as FE7 or Fire Emblem Blazing Sword.
The first part of the game revolves around a girl named Lynn, an orphan who is soon revealed to be the rightful heir to the throne of Caelin. After hearing that her grandfather, the current Marcus, has taken ill, she travels to Caelin to meet with him. As it turns out, however, there is someone at work trying to keep her off the throne.
This is Lundgren, the younger brother of Lord Howson and the final boss of Lynn's story.
Okay, you know what? Every time you guys pull this hating a villain for being a villain bull crap, I'm just gonna skip it, because I'm done hearing your crap. Oh, except for this.
And it's so satisfying to beat the stuffing out of him before finally killing him. He tried to murder his family. I am allowed this.
So you admit that it's a sign death when you kill the character because of the fight. Yet you put it higher on the list when compared to other characters you said had annoying boss fights. Especially when you put Francis lower on the list for being the very reason. GG, perfect logic, 10 out of 10, peak juice the patriarchy.
Anyways, what's next on the list? What about StarCraft?
Arcadus Mengsk is a selfish hypocrite who's only out for himself, going so far as to commit genocide against billions and has very few redeeming qualities. You know you've been doing something wrong when your death is the only thing good about you.
Okay, what about the next one, Kingdom Hearts?
She's bratty and annoying and a complete sadist because she absolutely loves inflicting pain on others.
God damn it could have been worthwhile to talk about. Wonderful 101?
It's a wonderful boss fight, but absolutely nothing beats the satisfaction you get when you deliver the coup de grace to end her.
Advance Wars?
Greyfield is a horrible villain with bland motivations, he stops at nothing to get what he wants, and he's a complete coward.
Professor Layton?
Bill Hawks.
Wait, this is getting way too samey.
Xenoblade?
Well, there goes my non-spoilers for Xenoblade. It's also inconsistent. What about the Mega Man segment?
Okay. What about number 1? Obviously they can't do the exact same thing for number 1, right? They have to change it up. They have to do something different. It can't just have the same problems we brought up before, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the whole list. You know what? Let me show you a good visual representation of this entire video.
Holy shit, he's dead!
What do we do with the body?
We need to dump it somewhere.
But where?
The fire. The one he started.
I'd just like to say something.
Did I miss something? Because it seems like you were in the middle of your introduction, and you obviously didn't check over this video before uploading it, because you missed something as glaringly obvious as this. Oh, and by the way, this will come up later in the video.
Sorry if I haven't been posting that many videos often. It's because I've been busy with school.
Yes, all 8 of your fans must have desperately missed you.
Which, I may add, is only from 3 days apart, and the next video after that was... Oh, okay. Just 4 weeks apart, I guess. That's really understandable, but you didn't really need to say that again if you already have posted that in your Sonic Colors number 3 description box. It kind of really isn't needed here in this video, and it somewhat defeats the purpose of using that disclaimer here too.
Jesus Christ, this intro reeks of bopsucker. Using the same music that Ryan uses for his intro, and even if the music was different, it wouldn't matter because this intro is really freaking lazy. I mean, there's the fact that all that you use for footage is just the intro for the Persona 4 animation, with some text and pictures put over it. GG, really good effort.
I'm doing a commentary on Sean, but if Ryan and pretty much the whole members of Bob can do one, then why can't I?
Just because of the fact that Bob made a commentary on Sean, which is a month ago, mind you, that doesn't mean that you can't do one either. Because you may or may not have brought in anything new to the table to criticize on Sean, considering that a lot of people have already done a commentary on Sean before. For example, I've already done a one-shot on Sean before, and Henry did a full-length commentary on him too. But we'll be the judge on it, just in case if you did at least bring in one new and good point to the table.
Hey guys, Sean Sampson here.
In the meantime,
while I'm still working on episode 4 of Sean and Halo, I'm gonna release some commentaries.
Anyways, what the fuck? You start off with Sean at normal speed, speed him up when he's talking about Sean and Halo, and then put him back to normal speed when he's not talking about Sean and Halo. If you didn't want to hear Sean talking about that, then you know what you could have done? Just skip it!
Today, I'm gonna do another commentary on Trolls Suck.
Seriously, doing a commentary on Trolls Suck? He's an old topic. And yes, I know Sean doesn't release his commentaries after he's done with them, but still, it doesn't excuse him from doing a commentary on a dead topic, and that doesn't excuse people from asking him why he's doing a commentary on a dead topic.
Actually, Troll Suck isn't really a dead topic, as within the video, Troll Suck said that he has a new channel up and rolling. Also, in the comments section, you've said that you were talking about his old channel, but the thing is, 1, that channel is gone as he got banned, and 2, like I said, he got a new channel, so no, he is not a dead topic.
Also, isn't it beautifully ironic how you're complaining about Sean doing a commentary on a dead topic, yet Sean hasn't been relevant since Bop did a commentary on him well over a month ago at this point?
Oh, hello there. It's me, Trolls Suck, on my new account.
See? I told you that he said that he got a new channel. I told you that I wasn't going crazy.
Hey, you know what? I actually like that intro.
Hey guys, this is... If you like the intro, Troll Sucks, then mail it then.
No thanks, I don't want to marry it. I didn't mean like it as in that. I meant, as in I actually enjoyed that intro.
Hey, I got something to tell you. It was a joke.
He said he liked the intro, but not up to the point of marrying it. Also, when hearing Halo's voice, I had a really hard time understanding what he said.
If you like the intro, Troll Sucks, then mail it then.
Halo fan tried to make a joke about how Troll Suck said that he liked the intro by saying that he should marry it then. Granted, Halo fan didn't execute the joke properly, but Troll Suck took him seriously. Sean Sampson said that he took the joke seriously, and then you come in and miss the point entirely. Dude, learn how to listen to the other degrees next time. Also, what was the point in you saying I couldn't understand what Halo fan was saying? You transitioned so poorly into saying that, and it had no relevance. Like, why do we even care if you couldn't understand what Halo fan was saying? This isn't a commentary on Halo fan, goddammit!
1, just because they have nothing to say doesn't mean you can't point out something. 2, stop making skip screens that are 10 seconds long. It's annoying as fuck.
What in the actual fuck am I looking at? First of all, you literally displayed the skip screen for a grand total of 1 second, giving me barely any time to actually read the text. Secondly, if the person you're commentating on has nothing to say, then how the fuck are you meant to make a point? And finally, his skip screen was around 10 seconds long because his audience would have had to read the text, something you didn't give us the pleasure of doing.
You are not original at all, are you?
Well, they have been inspired, but I wouldn't have said it's a rip-off.
Dude, pay attention to the video that you're commentating on. Halo fan just said that clip was overused.
To your point, it has been overused. But you know what has been overdone? You giving examples like this whenever you're making commentary. This point is bad cause of, I don't... This point is just bad cause, that's my reason. Next. And I know what you're thinking. How is this relevant? Well, it's relevant because in this commentary, Trolls Suck only did it once, while in Sean, for every single commentary ever he has done, he just does it in every video. And it's really noticeable and irritating.
I know that this may or may not be a nitpick, but as a commentator, I would expect you to at least focus on talking to us, not playing with something from the background. I don't know as to what you're playing with in the background, but it can be distracting as hell. When you record your next commentary, please keep your hands off of anything. Hell, if you need to, then just lift your hands up in the air during the recording part and your commentaries. If you need to hold your mic for some weird reason, then fine, but your other hand shouldn't be touching anything else. Also, when you said about how Sean never never really gives out any valid reasons throughout the video, and in any of his other videos, you basically just strawmanned him when it was as clear as day that Sean gave out a valid reason. And that was the fact that Halo fans said that the epic fail picture and the Price is Right losing horn sound effect was overused.
Do you even know why he hates them? It's because they hate him.
What kind of statement was that? That was a really bad statement. That really was a bad statement right there.
Well, can you make better?
He did make good points throughout this video.
He made good points? I didn't see that through the entire video.
Ah, a no you argument.
This group is owned by Tunes, a fantastic YouTuber. He is making a new series which looks awesome. If you want to join the NSHD, you need to ask Tunes if you could join. Now that's it for this video.
Oh my god, I'm skipping this outro because it's way
This doesn't drag on like a 10-second fucking skip screen, alright? Please make them shorter, because if you're making a skip screen, you're obviously doing it wrong. Well, what I mean by you're making a skip screen, I mean when you're making a skip screen longer than 10 seconds, you're obviously doing fucking wrong. So, please, sit your ass back down and listen to the credit.
Blaze, why did you cut off Sean Sampson while he was talking? Whenever you do in the commentary, please let the other person finish their statement before you can interject. Otherwise, you can come off as a rude commentator.
Ugh, this point is so disjointed and hard to follow. It hurts. I can't even follow what you're saying here. This is just what did I just listen to?
Halo fan HP00, there is something I need to tell you. You need to calm down. You are getting angry at innocent people, and there's no need to be. If people have a base, they also have a fan base, and guess what? You just insulted Red Gamer's fan base. So Halo fan HP00, if you are watching this, I hope you understand this. Everyone has flaws, even both me and Red Gamer 75 have flaws. And this was Trolls Suck, signing off.
You know what? I'm not including this outro as end credits. Final thoughts.
You know what? I think I'm just gonna skip Sean's final thoughts and give my final thoughts.
If you're not gonna include Sean's final thoughts, then why bother leaving in the part where he says, final thoughts? It just looks like you're adding padding to a video.
We're going to be skipping his final thoughts because there really isn't anything that we can say about it, except for the fact that he cut himself off at the end of the video. With that being said, what are my final thoughts? Blaze Rush 2002, I know that this is your first commentary, but here's the thing. Try to find a topic that's actually more relevant. Otherwise, you'll come off as a lazy ass, especially since a lot of commentators have already done a commentary on Sean before. If you really need to, then find topics that you actually like a review of your favorite video game that recently came out, or a certain TV channel. If you can't really find any videos, then at least note that it does take time. You can't just be that desperate to find some commentary material. Also, don't just cut yourself off while you're trying to interject, because I can somewhat barely understand as to what you're saying at certain times. There's a thing called retakes. Please use it next time.
Okay, I'd just like to say I'm never a fan of the "it's my first video" excuse, or card, whatever you want to call it. But even if I applied it to this video, it would still not matter, because this video is literally that bad. The first time I saw this video, about a minute into it, I knew I was going to do a Fox commentary on it. It's that bad. And more fun facts about this video you didn't know. This originally started off as a quickie, but then, as the script went on, me and MTR realized this video was so bad and we got so many points out of it that we managed to turn it into a full-length commentary. Yeah, good job. Good job. You turned a quickie into a full-length commentary. Okay, next time you do a commentary, please take these 3 crucial things into mind. 1, actually make sure your clips don't cut off. 2, don't cut other people off. And 3, keep your hands still. Do those 3 things and your commentaries will be at least decent. Hopefully. Actually, his commentaries would still probably really fucking suck.